Do I have my other topic? Yeah, well, that's fine now. Hey, Nova. Did my torso just get cut out there? One second, I need to turn down my heater. Rather not bake myself in my room. I want to also find a picture for today. Flora species, Mina. Hi, Palm. Goat. Um, what am I up to, King? Not a whole lot. How about yourself?
Hi.
Hi, can I get your age and pronouns?
Hi, I'm Jay. I was born on January 7th, 2008.
Can I get your pronouns, please?
Oh, he, him.
Oh, okay. Do you disagree with the prompt?
Um, a little bit.
What do you disagree with?
Well, not really. Like, I think, but this is my opinion. Like, I think it's like, what was it say? What is it? Like, isn't it like gender dysphoria? Isn't that a mental illness?
It would be classified as mental illness, but I wouldn't. I would say it's more of like a mental condition in the sense that like there's nothing wrong with having gender dysphoria in the sense that like it's a wrong way of thinking. The reason why gender dysphoria is classified in the DSM-5 as like some sort of issue is simply because of the distress that it causes and how that affects your life. Essentially, it's not as a it's not like with schizophrenia where like you have like mental delusions where like these are just like not tracking of reality. That makes sense.
Uh, so you said it's not like, but would it would be though?
Well,
It
it's not.
would.
The problem with so there's nothing in the DSM-5 currently with like regarding um like having gender nonconforming behaviors or beliefs like are not actually in the DSM-5. Like they're not as like listed as criteria for gender dysphoria. What is the like clinical significant amount of distress regarding either your own sex or your gender. Um,
Uh-huh.
so it's
Yeah.
it's more of a it's the distress side of things. So like if you are happy in your own body and you don't have like clinical levels of distress, being transgender is not a mental illness. It is the distress that's problematic. It's likewise with depression that like it is the problems with, you know, how it impacts your day-to-day life that are like seen as problematic.
Oh, I see.
So like when somebody's depressed, like I have depression, I've been diagnosed with it. Um, they don't try to say, "Hey, you're not depressed. You don't actually have these feelings." What they do is, you know, we work off the assumption that yeah, you do have these feelings, and that it's something we need to work with. not try to like. There's no fix to depression necessarily, especially when there's some like genetic aspects to it. Likewise with being trans and some other things, but there's it's not
Yeah.
like we're going around like trying to force people into like depression conversion therapy.
If it's like if it's like depression, why is it not a mental illness though?
Well, it's not like depression in the sense that like the way of thinking is wrong. There's nothing
Um,
about gender dysphoria that says um like the largest difference would be how like the reason why it's in the DSM-5. Um
yeah.
so like essentially depression, for example, can put somebody into danger and cause dysfunction within their everyday life. Gender dysphoria largely is focused on the distress that it causes, which may lead to some sort of dysfunction, and it can lead to other things such as having depression and that kind of stuff.
What
But the
specifically? What
oh god,
specifically causes the distress on the
gender
what was it
dysphoria.
on the? Yeah, yeah, well, yeah, that.
Um, what do you mean by like causes? Because it's
Because it's like like a type of depression could mean like from like physically being overweight or just having like a physical appearance that you don't like, and like you feel the stress about it, and like to the point where you can have to get surgery or do something about it, and like so it's like wouldn't that like also count as it? Because
no. So we understand with a lot of these things, so there might be some level of not liking who you like your parents and that kind of stuff that can cause some sort of distress. But a lot of that too is like we understand and have good evidence to show that some of this is and a good amount of it is caused by like social pressures. So like people are like, well, I don't think I look pretty, and therefore I want to change myself because I want to look prettier. But we understand that within like people who are transgender, who have gender dysphoria, it's not because other people are pressuring them or they want to look a certain way. It's that they innately feel one way versus another.
oh, okay, I see. Thank
Yeah.
you. That's all I have to
Okay.
say. Thank you so much. I learned a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, there's some differences, and it's gender dysphoria and being trans are just they're similar, but they're not the same.
Hmm.
So,
Okay, continue what you're doing. W.
well, I appreciate the conversation, and I hope you
Yep.
have a good rest of your day.
You too. Thank you.
Bye. What causes gender dysphoria if it isn't a choice? That's complicated. So, from my understanding, it's that there's a number of different reasonings behind it. Some of it is like we understand that there are some like biological aspects, such as like your genome, and genes can like predetermine you. It doesn't mean that you're guaranteed to have like something like gender dysphoria, but it can predispose you to having higher rates of it. Along with so there are probably there's some aspects of nurturing, um but it's not because of like some person raised you to be a different gender. Like you can't you when we've historically tried to like change people's gender by force, it just doesn't work. Hi, glasses, can I get your age
Yo,
and pronouns, please?
25 and he, him.
Do you disagree with the prompt?
Yes.
What do you disagree with?
So I'm not gonna say like there's nothing necessarily inherently wrong with being transgender, but it's definitely a mental illness. You know, it's not normal for someone that's a man or a woman to think that they're the opposite sex. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I wouldn't say that's what being transgender is. I think that would be like a
Well,
fundamental
what would you say
misunderstanding
being
of it.
transgender is?
It's having a gender that doesn't align with the gender or sex you're assigned with at birth. It's talking about your gender, not your sex. I mean, there are going to be individuals who think that they are the opposite sex, and some of it is that would come down to like how you're defining sex, because you can kind of define things different ways if you're talking about like a cluster concept, or if you're talking about like the overall structure of the body. Um, but also like when it comes down to it being a mental illness or not, we would just want to look at like, medical organizations to see what they would classify things as. And as of today, no major medical organization has, you know, actually put this idea that being transgender and taken it and classified as a mental illness. The issues that we do have classified are due to distresses that may be caused.
So would you say, sorry, I kind of forgot what you said, but would you say that, gender dysphoria, right?
Hmm.
Let's just say like if you're a guy and you don't feel like a guy, would you say that's like gender dysphoria? Kind of like what you said in the beginning. Can you repeat what you said in the beginning? Like I kind of,
Yeah, so
I'm,
like the reasoning why we would like classify something as like an issue or mental illness is that like it comes down to it causing like some sort of large impact in somebody's life usually. um in that sense, having gender diverse ideas don't cause this. It's only when we see like clinical levels of distress that we would actually classify as a problem. It's like kind of like depression. You can be diagnosed with depression, but it might not actually. It depends on what type of depression we're talking about too. But like it might not necessarily be. You might not actually be diagnosed with depression if it doesn't present in itself in a way that actually impacts your life in any way.
um,
Like you actually have to have some sort of like impact on your well, I guess with depression there is like some inherent danger aspect to it as well, so like this isn't just also not analogous entirely. But like you can be transgender, have no sort of dysfunction or distress or danger to, there's no, if you're not if you don't have dysfunction within your life, it doesn't cause you distress, and you're not a danger to yourself or others, there's nothing wrong. What would you be treating? What is wrong there? Like there's we have to classify, mental illnesses as being something like having some sort of negative effect. But if you're just disagreeing with society, that's not a mental illness.
so would you say depression within itself is a mental illness?
Yeah, it's classified under DSM-5, and there's multiple diagnoses of it.
So, so someone could be depressed and not inherently be in any kind of danger or anything like that. They
Hmm.
could just be sad all the time, and they have a mental illness, right?
Yeah, to some extent. Largely, if we're going to be talking about like actually getting clinical diagnoses, I think that let's see, DSM 5 major depressive disorder. So that's like what I'm diagnosed with. Um, yeah, so like a lot of this is like there are marked differences in behavior and thoughts when somebody's diagnosed with something like major depressive disorder, where like there's a loss in interest of things um for like extended periods of time. And there you'd have like depressed mood, weight or appetite changes, sleep disruption, fatigue, worthlessness, guilt, cognitive decline. There's a number of things that we can measure, but like these are differences that from like your standard normal, like we would say that, you know, this is a deviation from your normal, um, and that does cause you some sort of distress, especially if you're like losing, um, like if you've lost interest in something, clearly there's something different that's going on. Like if you just don't have, the motivation to do things, this is quite a stark difference from what you normally would be, and it's usually a sign that something is up.
And then just to clarify, so you were saying that gender dysphoria is not a mental illness?
I would say it's so gender dysphoria is under the DSM-5, but it's not a mental illness in the sense that the way that they're thinking is wrong. I would more. It is a mental illness because everything in the DSM-5 would be considered a mental illness, but it's not that the way of thinking is wrong. It's that they have a condition that causes them to have distress, and within other diagnostic frameworks like the ICD-11, they classify as some sort of sex-based disorder, not a mental disorder.
So it's classified as a sexual disorder, even
Sex-based.
though, or
It's
sex based.
yeah. Oh, yeah, gender dysphoria can cause mental issues like depression, etc. It's um a lot of that is more of a side effect of the gender dysphoria rather than being um I guess it depends on this is very I'm not a clinical uh, psychologist. I can't diagnose people, but it's going to change from individual to individual. So somebody could be, trans and have gender dysphoria and also have depression that's not related to gender dysphoria, or the gender dysphoria could cause things like depression. It's complicated.
Oh, I'm up.
Hello. Oh,
How are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
That's good.
I don't know if you're meaning to come up, Jade. I tried to bring you up, but it didn't.
I did request.
Oh no, I'm talking to Jade about Jade.
Ah.
Yeah. Um. Yeah, I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
Starting a new medication, so kind of iffy.
Is it good medication, bad medication, unknown?
It's for. So I went to a psychiatrist,
Mhm.
and he put me on mood medication. Um, to help because I have a lot of issues with anger and just fluctuation of mood that happens super quickly. So she put me on medicine for it.
Like a mood stabilizer, essentially, of some form.
Yeah, the medicine is specifically usually used for people with bipolar. So I don't know if she's doing that to just see if that is gonna work for me. She hasn't diagnosed me with anything yet.
Yeah, sometimes like some of those things is like just trying to figure out like some sort of if there's like a chemical imbalance of some flavor. Um, like I
Mhm.
know how like SSRIs and SNRIs work is that like the idea is that they block the uptake of these neurotransmitters, to help improve your mood, and like it's trying to it's like trying to fix underlying problems with like if there is like some sort of like mental condition that's causing this like chemical imbalance, or if there is some sort of like physical chemical balance in the first place. It's trying
Yeah.
to solve both of them that way. So
I hope it works though, because I don't like lashing out at people. I really don't.
no way. What are you saying? That you're not a mean person? No, I'm kidding.
I don't think so. I try not to be.
Yeah, I don't think you are. I think you're generally a really nice person.
Thank you. I have said some things I do not mean when it's like anger builds up extremely quickly, and I go from like 0 to 100. What the hell was I saying there? And when I go from 0 to 100, I lash out and say things I don't actually really mean. And then
Yeah.
after that, I apologize up one way and down the other.
Where's that new photo? Where are you at, Weasel?
Weasel?
Weasel.
Weasel.
I finally got through all 61 weasels.
Nice.
Am I blind?
You have glasses, you can't be.
No, I can be like. There it is. That's what I was looking for. This one? Yeah. Oh,
I don't see it.
he's coming.
It's too big. Oh, there he is.
Look at the little guy.
Oh my god!
I don't actually know what species this one is. I know it's a short-tailed weasel of some flavor. It's just there's 3 species of them, so it's just like
He's adorable.
yeah. Well, I tried to let Colleen up, but I don't know whatever reason that didn't. I don't know if they accidentally requested.
Why can't trans people just? I don't know that one. OPE?
Can't. Am I blind?
It's a comment by Toad.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the. I wish there was a search function. Very helpful.
That would be
Oh.
awesome.
I just saw it. Just ope. Oh, I don't know.
I don't know either. I'm so confused.
Don't ask me. What's your so-called dissertation on 420? Yeah, I'm hanging out with a friend later, so I started stream early. But I could still stream because I didn't stream last week because I forget why. It was something. I think I just was not feeling it, so.
Oh,
Well, yeah,
well, I'm glad you're feeling a bit better.
thanks. Yeah, sometimes it just, I don't know. I don't know, it's part of having depression. It's something that it's like, I handle my depression really well in a lot of ways, but other aspects is just I still have mood swings that are like, hey Cole.
Hello. My parents got back from the ocean and they brought me back a really cool shirt. I'm actually taking you all inside so you can see it since we don't have it up right now.
How are you doing, Cole? Oh,
I'm alive. Just ignore any other talking. I'm around people.
ah. I don't know
Okay.
that they can just feel it. Sounds like to me. What?
Look at it.
Egg of peach tree. What is it?
So,
Ooh, I love
so
the colors.
thanks. Transcoded it a little bit. I got some white and some blue and some pink in there. But of course, also, if you can't tell what the leaves are.
Oh, that took me a minute.
Which I love. So yeah, that's what my parents got me. Thanks for letting me show you, friends.
Jade finally gonna be able to join, or is TikTok confused? Oh, there we go. Hi.
What's going on?
I'm just gonna mute their mic for now.
I was about to say, I don't know if I can listen to that very much longer.
It might have been eating or something. I don't know. Um. Oh. Now they drop down. I'm confused. Anyways, yeah, it's we got some snow here the other day, and they had to shut down schools because of it. It's beginning of May.
Because of snow? I heard that right? Oh my god, it's fucking May!
Yeah. We're never safe from, yeah, Colorado. I'm from Colorado. How did you know? Did you notice I'm not pronouncing my T's or D's in the middle of the sentence? Very Colorado thing. Not Colorado. Yep. Yeah, we have our own accent, I've learned. It's really funny. Especially if you're from like the Springs or Denver area. We have our own like distinct mountain accent. It's very interesting. But yeah, we can get snow. So I remember late May, back in 2017 we got like a number of inches of snow. And then in the morning or by like midday, most of it had melted and was like completely gone.
Wild work by Mother Earth.
Yeah, Colorado, especially just being in like the other side of a mountain, we can have like we can just have really fast or rapid like weather changes. It is delusional. No. I don't understand why people think that.
Wait,
What
sorry.
does it mean by so many? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I think the guy or whoever said it is delusional. Was talking about the prompt and not snow.
Yeah,
Maybe.
snow just goes nuts and kills people. I bet you snow kills more people than transgender people. I almost guarantee you it.
Oh my lord.
How many deaths
that actually
does
pretty
snow
correct.
cause?
I think you're correct on that,
Each year.
Stokey.
My intuition, yeah, 1,300 to 1,800 deaths annually.
Oh wow.
Yeah, anybody who wants to talk about the prompt, just feel free to request up and we'll get to you when we're there.
Also, hi, Cole. I don't know if I said hi, but hi.
Hi, I don't think I said hi either. Hi, Palm.
Yeah, there's not even data that suggests that like gender nonconforming individuals like actually commit violence. Like they're actually just far more likely to be victims.
And even if
So based off of that, we can just look at like 300 transgender individuals were killed in 2023. So it's going to be less than 300 individuals. The snow is more deadly than transgender individuals in the US.
Wow, crazy. Anyway, we do have a request.
I did see that. Yeah, I was just looking that up because I was like, this is something I got to know.
Hello.
Hi, can I get your age and pronouns, please?
Hold on. Brain fart here. I'm not used to being asked my pronouns, but he, him. I'm 27.
Okay. Yeah, no, I just
So-
ask it for mostly respect.
Okay,
and
the
also-
only thing I would like to clarify before we start is I don't want like just because my thoughts on this, I don't want people to be like, you're a transphobe or something. Like I'm learning here. Okay. I'm pro LGBT, I'm pro trans, I'm pro everything, I'm pro human rights.
Okay.
My question
So since you had your little preface, I'll have my little preface.
Okay.
One, when I point out transphobia, I don't always think that that's like a bad person who hates trans people or anything like that. Transphobia can just be an aversion to trans people. So
Yeah.
if I do see it, I will call it for what it is. But again, I don't always think that that makes you a garbage person or anything like that. Some people do just need to learn. So if you're willing to learn, we can totally have this discussion.
Yeah, so that's why I'm here. I'm not here to be like, hey, this is my opinion, you need to respect it. No, I'm like, I can't even pronounce your username, the host here. But you definitely put something on here that has grabbed my attention that I want to learn about. So I don't know how to word this I don't want to offend anybody, but you got me with the saying, there's nothing wrong with being transgender. I do agree with that. But the thing is saying that it's not a mental illness. My thing is that confuses me, which what I'm saying is I'm trying to learn. I'm not saying that, oh, it is a mental illness. I'm saying it as in a way of like, that's my go-to to think it could be, because I'm wondering, and this is where I want you guys to enlighten me, is that essentially like if somebody is in like they were born a cis female, cis male, whatever, and they want to like manipulate it and modify that, how would that not be? Because your brain is like saying, hey, I'm in the wrong body, we need to alter it. Like, how is it like, I guess what I'm saying is like, how is it not the brain like having, you get what I'm saying? I'm trying not to be offensive.
Before we answer that, I do want to just clarify some language. Trans people, we'll just use adults for an example because people prefer that typically. Trans adults were kids once, and when those trans adults were kids, they were trans kids. So when you say somebody who's born a cis man or a cis boy or a cis girl, and then they want to change that, they wouldn't actually be born a cis anything. If their gender does not align with their sex assigned at birth, then that means they're trans, and they've always been trans. So they wouldn't be described as cis when they're born. But people don't have a developed gender identity until typically between the ages of 3 and 7 is when that's developed. So you won't see it until they're a little bit older. But yeah, I just wanted to correct that language. I know you weren't even like trying to use necessarily like incorrect language. I get where you're coming from. I just wanted to correct you for future reference so that you understand things a little bit better. And if you want us to clarify the difference between sex and gender, we're more than welcome to do that as well. But if Stoat wants to answer your question first, go for it.
Oh no, you got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I just know like a lot of the stuff I'll say, I might be all over the place. I'm not, I'm not going to be perfect. I still learn. Like I even like freak out if I accidentally misgender somebody. I'm like, fuck, I'm not trying to be an asshole. Like I don't mean to do it.
Yeah.
So I've still got a lot to learn myself.
It seems like your head's in the right place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is good. The big difference between like why being transgender isn't classified as a mental illness and why under the DSM-5 gender dysphoria is due to the impact that it has on somebody's life. Gender dysphoria is like defined as having a clinical level, like in order to have gender dysphoria, you need to have a clinical level of distress that it causes you. You need to have a clinical, be quite significantly distressed about either your sex or your gender, and have a desire to change it to something that it wasn't at birth. And this is not something that all transgender individuals experience.
That's exactly what I was going to say. So yeah, literally I was about to say not all trans people have gender dysphoria, right before you said it. So that's kind of why it's not ever a mental illness to just be trans. Some people have that disorder associated with their transness of gender dysphoria, and those people would have the disorder of gender dysphoria, not the disorder of being trans, if that makes any sense. Because not all trans people, like if a trans person doesn't have gender dysphoria, then they don't need to change anything about the way that they present to the world in order to feel comfortable. They already are comfortable. So even if they're trans, they don't necessarily have to go through all those changes.
Okay, so, and I'm also curious, so like, if someone has like, all right, for example, like male anatomy, but they're a female, right? What is it like, I'm trying to learn is, what is it in the brain or whatever that, like, when you're talking about gender dysphoria and stuff, what causes the brain to do that? You know what I'm saying? Like they're, born in the wrong body or whatever, like.
We're not sure entirely.
Yeah,
It's still being looked into.
Yeah.
They've been doing brain structure studies, looking into basically everything about the brain that we can at the moment with our medical technology. They've found that the structuring, gray matter, and other stuff in the brain is a bit different than cis people's. But there's still nothing that tells us, hey, this is the main factor of what causes this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we can definitely like make some logical guesses. We can think about before somebody's born when they're in utero and the different hormone washes that the body goes through in utero. We know that the hormone wash that determines your physical sex and the hormone wash that determines your how like your brain sex, not in like the sense of like how do I describe this? But like the way the things Palm was talking about, the BNST, gray matter, things like that, those parts of the brain, the hormone wash that determines whether those are going to act in a more non-binary, cisgender, or transgender way, those hormone washes are suspected to be different in utero. So one hormone wash could say you're going to have male anatomy, and then another one could say you're going to have this developing gender identity of a girl and into a woman as you grow up and develop that.
That's really interesting. I wonder, like, I know it's probably not the same thing, but like to me, I would go like if we were talking about like studying brains and stuff, the first thing I'd go after would be people with like DID, because if like you can have alters, I would start with that. Like, does that make
What do you
sense?
mean by that?
Like my thing is like if your brain can like you're a different gender or whatever in a different body, if the brain can cause you to have multiple personalities, what you see, like I would go off
Okay,
of that.
let me explain this. I'm just gonna nip it in the bud because I happen to be a system myself. And I'm not a DID system, but I am a system that operates with different parts and things like that. We first of all, we try not to bring up other mental illnesses when we're talking about gender dysphoria or things of that nature, just because even sometimes when we think that they can be connected, they usually aren't. So like with being a system, a DID system or a different type of system, we actually have been able to study that and realize that early childhood trauma is what causes that. And the reason for that is because when everybody is born, we all have different parts that aren't like melded together when we're kids. And as we grow up, those parts, think of like a piece of, or like a pie chart type situation where you've got different parts that handle different types of like one part could deal with happiness, one part could deal with trauma, one part could deal with stress, so on and so forth. So as we grow up, those fragments meld into one whole, and so the one person that we become has all of these different aspects to it. But when we're young and we go through early childhood trauma that is severe enough, what the brain does is it says, okay, we're going to stop this melding. We're going to keep these fragments as fragments. We are going to put amnesic barriers up in between these fragments in order to make sure that the part that deals with trauma isn't trauma dumping onto all these other parts. So only one part has to deal with it when they're fronting, things like that. So different parts can be different genders, yes. But if you talk to, and again, if you've met one system, you've met one system, because DID and systems as a whole are extremely diverse. You have polyfragmented systems, you can have subsystems, so like a part in your system can have its own system, things like that. Like it can get very, very complex. So it's unique depending on the person, but we know that this fragmentation is what causes it. And I even know of some other systems that are trans, and you will see this consistency within the system, where maybe not like let's say you're a part of a polyfragmented system, so that means you have a lot of different parts, and maybe a few of them might identify more femininely or more as a woman, but most of them identify as a man. Most of them are comfortable with either this non-binary or more masculine presentation. So we're going to take what we are experiencing majority and go from there. it definitely can be complex when they interplay with each other as well, but systems are just so much different than gender itself. Thanks for letting me kind of get into a ramble about it too, because I think it's good to know the differences and what creates what in order to know like how different they are. So like yes, different parts of different systems can have different genders, but the reason for that is completely separate from the reason that somebody is trans. And oftentimes, even within systems that are trans, you will find consistency between the parts of what gender they identify as.
Well, that was a lot of information. I appreciate that. I do want to clarify though that when I brought that up, I wasn't trying to dismiss anyone. I was just curious if like, we could learn from other health issues to kind of learn more about it. But I totally get what you're saying because things can overlap, but also things are, way different onto themselves. But I appreciate you telling me.
One of the things that I would say is like
Yeah.
maybe closest related would be like some of the things for autism, for example, are very they kind of help individuals who are transgender to like just not give a shit about society. I'm autistic, and one of the things that people with autism will typically, not always, experience is kind of not caring like about what it like social norms and stuff like that, social cues, these kinds of things. They just they don't get picked up, and we don't care about them as much, honestly. So more readily, for example, to reject these ideas that for example, a gender is one way or another, or that it should be one way or another, or that we should follow societal norms when they're not like based off of like I understand like if we have societal norms that are built off of like, hey, we don't want to hurt people because that's bad, like that I understand, but like how you dress or that kind of stuff is not like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how somebody dresses at the end of the day. People should be able to experience, express themselves as they desire. And transgender individuals are more likely to just not care about, or like autistic people are less likely to care about what other people think in regards of like societal norms of how somebody should dress and that kind of stuff. So there are some things that we can learn, but it's a lot of it is like we don't know why exactly, like beyond maybe that like a hypothesis of something like that. We don't know why there's like some sort of correlation between autism and individuals being transgender. Like there's a correlation. Causation is we just don't know. It might be genetic in nature. It might be some other like it might just be due to how like autism affects the brain structure. So
Right. I think in a nutshell, at the end of the day, my thing is I don't care what you are, what you identify as long as, you don't hurt children or animals, I could care less,
well, nobody
Like,
wants to
that's
hurt
all that
anybody.
matters.
That's really white men that are hurting children and animal at higher rates. So
Yeah,
yeah,
like in the comments, the ones that are already being rude, like them.
yeah. I
It's
mean,
risky, yeah.
it's white men as a whole because like if you aren't saying anything about it when people are talking about it or participating in that, then sorry, um, then you're still kind of part of the problem at that point. So it really is all men till it's no men. But yeah, the white men a lot of the time are, if you look into research, are the problem for
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
And
Majority
I'm
of
trying.
what I was gonna say is that like majority of crimes committed by like a very small minority of even just men. It is really just a very small subset of individuals who cause a majority of crime, and it's really interesting when you look down on it. Um, but yeah, like technically speaking, cisgender white men are going to be the number one. Like they have some of the highest rates of offense and that kind of stuff. When
I
you
guess.
account for, um, I wouldn't even say white, but just cisgender males in general just have higher. There's some like actual like chemical reasons why it's likely. Um, but and also subcultural reasons. But it's also just like if you break down the rates, it's cisgender males that are going to be the highest rate.
I guess what I'm saying is I'm trying to change that. I don't want to be part of that demographic as a straight white male.
I agree with you. I'm part of the same demographic.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't like saying that, and I think a lot of the movement of it's all men is more saying that not that all men are bad, because like the data is clearly against that. It's that people need to act with our society how it currently is. People need to be cautious about other individuals because we understand that there's this problem,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I've understood it mostly to be
And
about.
I think the biggest thing you can do too, being straight, straight white male, we have more like privilege and less oppression than other people, like transgender people or people of color. And I think it, is in our way of like our job to kind of spread the awareness, like people are oppressed and treated like crap because they're different compared to how society sees people. You know what I'm saying?
Especially to other men because they're
Yeah.
more likely to listen to men. So yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Fucked up,
Yeah,
but
for
true.
sure. It is, yeah. They're like, I'm not going to listen to your opinion because you're one of those. Like, it's like, what? Or they think like like your opinion or whatever you talk about, you're not educated because you're different. And I'm just like, yeah.
I think some of
So you
that
got to
comes down
step
to
up.
like, I mean, honestly, social cues where like we best relate to, like we want to relate to others around us, and so whenever we see somebody who we would initially find similar thinking differently, it can sometimes make us question what's going on and why.
I'm gonna
Proof that we
okay.
are less. I just wanted to answer this person real quick.
Yeah,
Proof.
I was about to touch on that. So you
Okay.
can just ignore Rune. I really hope that Rune comes up and discusses this with us because whoever it is tagged me a few times asking for proof, and then I said proof of what? That it's typically men, and then they said proof of your claim. You just gonna make random claims? And so I said, which claim, fucking dumbass?
Well, like, yeah, I know I don't even have to
And
entertain
so-
this, but it's like, are you made fun of for being white? Are you made fun of being straight? Have you ever questioned about ending your life because you were straight? No, you haven't. So
literally, and earlier they said I was racist for saying that it's
Probably a
typically
troll.
white men. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my god, that's fucking hilarious.
I
You'd
don't
be
think
surprised.
straight white males were bullied in school for being straight. Oh, look at that guy over there liking that girl. Like, that's not a thing. It doesn't exist. So quit being
It's
offended
not.
by something. That
Yeah,
doesn't
it
exist.
wouldn't be because they're white. At least most of the time. Like there's, I guarantee you, there's outliers where there are like,
Yeah, an
situations.
oddball.
If you are in like a majority, colored community, and you become the minority, yeah, you're gonna be the one that's gonna be oppressed. But when like that's just because you're a minority. This is a well understood thing. But it would be because likely because you are part of that minority, and that minority just happens to be because of the color of your skin. But overall, that's going to be a lot rarer than others, which have seen like there's some like systematic inequalities due to just our history of oppressing others in the U.S. that cause these quite they're confounding factors onto an already like problematic or issues within our problematic society.
Yeah. They're probably just a troll or something, honestly. But they're saying, like, where's the statistics? There's not going to be any because you're not being oppressed. That's why.
Yeah, but
Like,
we actually
there's your
do have
statistics.
some. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's what I was going to say. Go ahead.
Okay, we do have some statistics that that white men are primarily the oppressors in certain situations. I mean,
There you
it's
go.
not
There's
that.
your statistic.
Yeah, it's not the topic, but we definitely have research on who is oftentimes the source of things like SADV, other violence, mass pew-pewings, things like that. We do have evidence. So if you want it and the host is okay with talking about it, then we can talk about it. But also, like, Rune, you really should know how to do your own goddamn research. You think you have sources, and A, I haven't seen any, and B, if you have a source that says that it's not primarily white cishet men doing this, then it's a bullshit source. It's a crap source, and you don't know how to research.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is they're getting at me like, what's your statistics that, white males are not oppressed or whatever. You're not going to have statistics on something if it does not exist. Do you not understand that? Or are you asking me show up like what are you exactly asking me? Because if that is what you're asking me, it's not going to exist if it's not there. If there's no oppression, there's no statistics.
Yeah, they're we can talk about the groups that are being oppressed by said group, but we can't talk about oppression against white men because it's not a part of the systems we live in, correct? So yeah, anyways, we can also mute, like, if anyone in the comments, or if you are having a hard time with Rune being around and just going off in the comments, you can let me or another mod know, and we will mute them and just say, come up if you want to have a discussion.
Yeah,
And that's the thing. I'm like,
Oh,
sorry. I was gonna say, if you're passionate about your views and want to debate, then get up here. Don't sit in the comments.
Don't weasel away.
Give the statistics. Come on. Come on, straight white man. Let's go.
Don't weasel away.
Yeah.
So weasel. I was requesting.
Well, none of us saw it, so like I said, you either need to restart the app and try again, or you're just gonna have to deal. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I didn't see it. I looked for it. I don't think anyone else has either.
I mean, this isn't my live, but I mean, if someone comes up here and if name calling starts, you already lost the debate. If you got a name call or be disrespectful to someone's pronouns, whatever it is, you already lost the debate. So.
Okay, now you're getting muted because you said transracial, and unless you're adopted, you didn't mean that. Yeah, that because transracial does exist, not related at all to being trans, but if you are adopted into a family that is not the same race as you, you would be considered transracial. So we're not going to appropriate terms that we don't even know the meaning of, Rune.
I guarantee you Rune also thinks, well, pronouns are made up. It's like, no, but like it's always been a thing. Pronouns are real. Like, you walk around and be nothing. Like,
hold on, but they are kind of made up though, because like a society will make pronouns up.
Okay, that's fair.
They I was about to say, like, I'm gonna push back up on that idea because like I do think that like ideas of gender and that kind of stuff are like they're kind of just entirely arbitrary when you look at
labels.
It. Yeah.
Yeah, like if you think about it, anything is a label, like a tree or a car, like it's technically just a label.
Yep.
So
all words are made up.
Yep.
Well, yeah, but like I mean, it's different though compared to like you know, if we're talking about like a tree, like we're basing it on. Oh, I guess tree. That's actually horrible. That's a horrible example. Tree is just that is one of the most vague words that we use in so many different fucking ways across like many taxonomic groups. Let's see, what is something that's less vague? Something like primates or something, like where we're looking at a distinct biological category based off of ancestry and when like a split occurred. Like we can base that off of like objective reality, like when that split occurred we can look at and like the objectively is a difference that there was a split from primates from other species essentially at the time, and then that's evolved into many different species such as humans.
So like there are concepts that would exist even if we didn't have language and words to describe them, and then there are concepts like gender that wouldn't necessarily exist that are subjective in that sense. But yeah, and obviously like depending on the society that you're in, which would be like location and time, we're going to have different amounts of genders, different words for those genders, so on and so forth.
Yeah, it all makes sense to me. And even though I'm still learning, I do love the occasional like people up here all pissy and getting all mad. I'm like, I want to hear why you are so passionate about it, you know?
I dropped you. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
The only honest argument I hear is I don't understand it. I don't like it because I don't understand it. That's the only honest argument that you can have, I think. The rest of them, like, if you are bigoted because of that, that's not an honest argument. You're just a bigot. But why?
Yeah.
And I mean, if you could boil it down and you look at it really hard, it often comes down to I don't understand it. A lot of people don't. Who disagree.
And a lot of people that get defensive and angry, it's because they don't understand.
It's that, and there's also been a lot of like our society there's been some pressures of like pushing back against these ideas using harmful rhetoric that are not grounded in reality. They overblow situations far beyond what they are, and it's just like a lot of like, oh well, trans people do XYZ. It's like people do this in general. We look at the rates of it. and it's no higher. Like, I mean, I'm just gonna start using this example of snow is more harmful and kills more people than trans people. It's
That is a
insane.
great
Yeah,
argument, not
yeah.
gonna lie.
It's just like, bro,
And
you're not like screaming against the snow. Like, how are we gonna cure snow?
The media is also, they like misportray things, because when you had a once in a blue moon transgender person do a mass pew pew, they're like, oh, they're dangerous, get away from them. And I'm like, it's mainly straight. You need to get away from straight white males too. If they own GUNs,
Exactly.
run.
On that note, I'll share a couple of things. Sorry. One, we have had, it's either 5 or 6 trans people commit mass pew pews in the United States in the last decade, 10 years, versus the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, like possibly thousands of total shootings that have been or pew pewings that have been committed by cis white het men. So yeah, you're right on that. And then also, I just wanted to let you know, Sucker Punch, that I followed you, saw that you followed the host. If you ever think of any more questions or something else that you want to discuss on this topic, you're always welcome back up here. If you're respectful like you have been this entire time, you are always welcome back.
Cool, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'll say one last thing on that too. It's just statistics for, like, I think probably in the decade there was maybe 2 to 3 females that's done it as well. And once again, straight white males. Like, I'm willing to admit that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why a lot of people get defensive too, because if you're part of that, minority, and you're like, what, straight white males ain't doing this. Y'all get, it's like, why not you just admit it? That's something that's clearly wrong with us.
You know what's really funny though is that I'm looking at the Rockefeller Institute of Government, and they have some statistics, and it's like, so solar males are the most likely, then it's solo females, and then it's a male and female pair, not 2+ males. I'm like, huh? I wonder how they're aggregating that data, but it's, yeah, I'm just like, huh? I would have to look at how they're aggregating data and what based stuff, but it is a bit of one of those eyebrow raising, like, huh? But I mean, it's only 1% and versus like 0.6%, so I think, versus 94.7% are solar males. So
I think there's only one more thing that, like, is the most controversial that I'll say about the whole transgender stuff that I am passionate about. Obviously, I'm very nice about this. If y'all want to educate me, go, whoa, nope, you're wrong, buddy. Like, I'm like, all right, tell me why I'm wrong. This is the only other thing that I'll say that's controversial that I'm sure y'all will have an opinion on, is the only thing that I disagree with. If you are under the age of 18, you should not be able to change, like, physically, like, manipulate your body. Like, if you want to wear women's clothes, whatever, do that. But I think actual, like, surgeries should not until your brain's developed. That's the only thing I'm going to say.
So I will definitely chime in on that. So first of all, that would be called medical transition, what you're referring to, just to make it a little bit quicker and easier to discuss, and so that you know what I mean when I say that. So there are different parts of medical transition. Surgery is one of them. But where you would start with medical transition, if you were a minor, if you were going into Tanner stage 2 of puberty, and you thought that you were trans, you would go to therapy and you may be put on hormone blockers. The thing about hormone blockers, or puberty blockers, sorry, is that they don't stop anything or hurt anything. All they do is press pause on puberty. As soon as you stop taking them, puberty is going to resume as normal, unless you're on HRT. Then you would have the puberty of the other sex. So like I said earlier as well, every trans adult was once a trans kid. And trans kids need gender affirming care as well, including medical transition. The reasons for this would be, we'll use the example of somebody who is male to female, and then I'll use the other example the other direction as well. So male to female, if you go through a male puberty, then that woman would go through getting secondary sex characteristics changed. Her voice would deepen. She would have growth that she would never be able to reverse. And she wouldn't be able to naturally grow breasts in the same way that she would be able to having that care going through puberty at the normal time everybody else goes through puberty. So from female to male, if we don't have access to things like puberty blockers and HRT, that means that we're not going to have our voices deepen. We are not going to grow facial hair. We are going to grow breasts that, for a lot of us, will create surgeries that we need later on in our lives that we would not need at all if we just hadn't gone through a female puberty. And there will also be potentially less dysphoria with like muscle growth and downstairs as well. So in these scenarios that I've explained, I think it's easier to see if that hasn't been explained to you before, how important at least the hormone aspect of things is for minors to have access to at that time. Because if you're already 18, you can't use puberty blockers. You've already gone through the puberty of the sex that you were assigned at birth. And so you're probably going to need HRT and surgeries to fix that. Whereas you may not have needed surgeries prior if you had gone through it at that normal time that everybody else goes through puberty. Before I forget to, backing up a little bit, when puberty blockers are used, I mentioned therapy. You are not immediately put onto HRT unless you've already been in therapy discussing this with your therapist for a while. Puberty blockers are just meant to create a pause that is long enough to have that therapy and figure out for sure, this is the gender that I am, this is the puberty that I need to go through. So there are there's parents involved, there's therapists involved, there are doctors involved, and all three of them need to make that decision. And then as far as surgeries go, it is very uncommon that minors will get surgery, even if they have been on puberty blockers and HRT growing up through their teen years. There are occasions where it is done, but it is not done. I think the earliest I've heard of is like 16. And don't hold me to that because I'd have to do a little bit more research to know that for sure. And they're usually done because either like a kid is not in a supportive family and they're about to get emancipated or something like that, or they're about to go to college and let's say they're 17 when they graduate high school in that summer before they go to college, and they won't have time to recover from surgery while they're in classes, so they're able to get top surgery or whatever at that time prior to being 18. Now that is also a decision that therapists, the child, and the parents and other doctors would all be involved in as well. There are doctors that will refuse to give, not medical transition as a whole, but will refuse to give medical transitioning surgeries to minors. But most doctors who do gender affirming care are comfortable with it. On those kind of rare occasions where that discussion has all taken place. So just to explain everything that medical transition can be, how it can help you when you're younger, and oh hi Edna Mode, and how it can prevent needing surgeries later on in life. Now that you've heard all of that, can you see how it is okay, and not just okay, but very important and helpful to these children that they do receive gender affirming care so that they don't have dysphoria and extra surgeries?
Yes, I'm still a mixed bag, but I'm more leaning into, okay, I just got educated big time, and now my opinion on it is I'm not as confident in my, no, they shouldn't now, if that makes sense.
One of the big things I do want to clarify
Absolutely.
too is that people who are under the age of 18 cannot consent to any sort of treatment whatsoever. The most that they ever do is give what's called medical assent. This is made with the direction of their parents, their doctors, and others involved. They cannot make medical choices by themselves.
And then the last thing that I will add is that for these kids, because they are seeking gender affirming care, this medical transition, we know that they have dysphoria. And that means because you have to have a gender dysphoria diagnosis in order to receive medical transition, right? If you didn't already know that. That means that they're experiencing an extreme distress that is strictly caused by the difference between their gender and their sex. And if that is left untreated for a period of time, it can cause to increased rates of self-harm and self-unaliving. And these rates are already high enough just with the bullying and judgment that we get from family, peers, coworkers, and so on. So that's another reason that it's very important to pay attention when these kids are experiencing this gender dysphoria and to get them the treatment that they need.
I very much respect that, and that is a very, very educated response. So thank you.
Of course. Thank you for it does happen. I would say in my experience of going live once a week, for the last, I don't know, handful of months, I would say once every 2 or 3 months, we get somebody who is actually wanting to learn. It's actually pretty damn rare. So I want to say thank you for
Yeah.
being respectful to everybody and for being curious and being willing to learn instead of just listening to combat and defend and those sorts of things that you were talking about that people do a lot of the times. It's really refreshing to actually be able to educate somebody instead of just talking to somebody who's never going to agree, you know?
Yeah, I've learned a lot, like with life, is to kind of be humble and you might learn something, instead of always opening your mouth, maybe sometimes close it and you can learn. And I'm like, I'm going to try that. So I'm like, I get to be educated more. And like, that's with everything, I feel like it's very like a bigot kind of mindset to be like, I'm right, you're wrong, you're dumb, just because your views are different. Like, I'm like, let's learn why they think this way and what could I learn from it. And so, yeah, I think it's a very good discussion, and I guess, try to shed a little hope that not everybody's out to be like, you're a weirdo, you're not a human. We're not all like that.
Yeah, and I do know that I do have supportive people in my life, and in person, online, whatever way, shape, or form that might be. It's just that these topics don't tend to attract people who are really willing to learn, which I also get. So again, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I probably will catch your live another time, but really, I was just coming here to learn. So,
All right, we're here on Saturdays.
all right, enjoy the chat, guys.
Of course, thanks for coming up.
Yeah, thanks for coming up and thanks for being respectful. Did Palm need to drop? Or
I do not know, but if he requests backup, then I'll let him back up. I know I did a lot of rambling. I don't let myself talk like in that much detail and for that long very often. I just felt like because he was listening it and like actually like open to learning about these things that I had the freedom to do that and actually maybe have some positive effect with it. So that was nice.
I like how the person and the things is like, oh, my healthcare system is getting clogged up by trans people. I'm like, I think that's a lot more damning on your healthcare system if 1% of the if like a subset of 1% of the population occasionally needing like a surgery or one medicine that is extremely accessible is causing problems. Your healthcare system is fucked. That's a political issue, not a moral issue.
Right?
Yeah, like if your healthcare system sucks that much ass, that's a problem with your politics, not with. I think that all individuals should be able to access healthcare at a reasonable and affordable price, if it's available. That is, yeah, it's as simple as that. If your healthcare system's fucked up that badly, that's another problem. Oh yeah, yeah, the actual individuals who under the age of 18 actually get access to like medical surgeries for for being transgender and just help solve like or alleviate what is it gender dysphoria is increasingly minimal.
Exactly. Like if we look at that stat of 0.05% of trans teens, that's 0.05% of a percentage of 1% of people. So that is because teens is another subcategory of all trans people. So that is a very, very, very small number. But yes, it is usually for their mental health. Yep.
I think also one of the important things is that like I think a lot of people wish that we didn't have to do that. Like if we had an option that was better that didn't lead to worse outcomes, we would do it. This is the best option.
That's why it's the recommended treatment.
I think everybody would agree that like if we shouldn't be letting 13, 14, 15, 16-year-olds get like cosmetic surgery just because they quote unquote wanted to, like people think. That's not why it's being done. It's very serious mental health conditions where we expect that these surgeries will create a huge impact on their life in terms of helping them. And it's only after every other option has been tried. And I wouldn't even say that it's down to if their life is on the line. I wouldn't.
Usually it is, but not all of the time.
Yeah. I mean,
not all.
I think a lot of the if there's mental health conditions like severe depression that come along with it.
Excuse me, Chucky. We are not going to be talking about that or like that. If you want to come up here and not just say, give them a lobotomy, then sure. Anyways, okay.
No, you can't request. You're going to be invited up.
There was something else I was going to say, and I can't remember what it was.
them.
Okay, hi.
Hi, Cole.
Hello.
Wait, what was I gonna say? Yeah, so I have gender dysphoria personally, and I have experienced how bad it can get because of mental disorders, and yeah, I think I should be in the 0.05% because I'm going insane because of it. I don't.
Yeah, like I think that there's a lot of I think we over restrict it currently. I mean, it sounds insane to a lot of like the opposition to say, oh, I think we should be giving more minor surgery. On paper, on face, it is insane to say that. But the reason behind it is because we would expect like in the event that we expect these things to lead to a dramatic increase of quality of life, and we don't expect a high regret rate. Yeah.
Okay, Cindy, I need to address this. I thought you were just saying because of his face, and I was like, hey, don't be mean. Have you seen the comments still? And then
No, your face is beautiful. Come back. I enjoyed looking at your
yes,
face.
but to say if you mean fascist by fascio, just because he doesn't have hair does not mean
I have hair.
that
I just shaved my head. Fuck you.
Exactly. Just because he chooses to shave his head does not mean that he's a fascist or a schnazi or anything like that. So please don't make assumptions. He is still a great guy.
I fucking despise fascism and all authoritarian. I think they just I don't know what they meant by fascio or fash.
Yeah, me neither. I thought fascist, and I was like, wait a second, let's address this. Oops.
Oh, for show. That's what they're saying.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, okay. So it was just about his face. Sorry, I'm actually have not smoked anything today. Funny enough, usually have by now, but haven't yet, and still misunderstood. So apologies.
Yeah.
I read it as fascist as well, but I have dyslexia, so I have an excuse.
No, Wolverine jump scare. Biggest,
but
most
I know
weasel
that
behavior. Okay, go ahead, sorry.
a lot of it's okay, don't worry. I know a lot of
teens who get surgeries, at least in my state, they have either a major depressive disorder, borderline personality disorder, or some sort of severe personality or mood disorder that makes their gender dysphoria seem more severe than a distressor. A lot of people who go online and talk about gender dysphoria and how they experienced it have some sort of not severe, some sort of mild to severe mood or personality disorder, and that is what amplifies the distressor. Like if you are pregnant and have postpartum
Depression.
stress or depression, that is technically a distressor, but they label it as depression due to how similar depression and the distressor looks.
Yeah, it's I think there's a lot of like there's a lot of like I think almost like sometimes people can put off a bad image on things. It's hard to talk about like when individuals already, like trans people in general are more, they face a lot more like systematic issues with just depression due to just not being accepted and other things like that. It's not because they're trans, it's because people treat them worse, and then when these, when they're being treated worse, this causes changes in their attitudes and behaviors that then cause people to dislike them more, and like it's just a self-refer, like it's a problem that causes itself, and it's really bad that we don't.
Yeah, it just builds up on top of it itself. I'm
Wasn't it?
sorry for talking slow. I was trying to make sure I don't stutter or mess up
No,
my
it's all good.
words.
Um, Somebody
It's
asked.
really focused.
So previously in the DSM-4, it was considered like gender identity disorder was considered like a mental health issue. But the big difference between gender identity disorder and gender dysphoria is that within gender identity disorder there was they classified like gender nonconforming behavior as like problematic in some sense, like that it was seen as like a problem. And then when we actually did like when we had people push back on this idea, we said, "Hey, where's the evidence for this?" Um, they just went, "Oh, we don't have any." Basically, so this idea that this was problematic was just completely removed, and that's how we ended up with gender dysphoria. I have some feeling that if it wasn't for our history of like classifying things we don't understand as like being mental disorders, it almost wouldn't. I would doubt that it would be stigmatized even to the point that it is today.
I mean, we literally classified females having strong emotions as a mental disorder.
Yeah, it's just because they were outside of the norm that they were like, oh well, there's clearly something wrong. This is well documented thing of societies basically saying, well, you're wrong because you're different, and that's just not a correct way of thinking.
They did. I read this somewhere. It might be wrong. If I'm pretty sure they did studies on the mentally ill and neurotypical people to figure out what exactly was causing, not causing, exactly what if it would be classified as a mental illness. The
Hmm.
people with um, neurodivergence had a lot more severe reactions to the distressor, and the people who are neurotypical had a lot less um, reactions to the distressor, and it was more like uncomfortable. They described it more as being uncomfortable than I forgot how they word it for the neurodivergent.
That would make. I mean, so yeah, with it, but is it like some of it is looking at too though? Is that different emotional response going to be? Is that a problem, or is it just because they're wired differently? And that's like a
It's
really important thing to look at too. Is that like a lot of historically, a lot of what we consider like mental illnesses were classified that way because we saw them as like being apart from the norm and not just like a different way of being wired, and like we wanted to hold people to the same standards as people who were just literally built differently inside their brains.
Mm?
Oh, not the beeping.
My bad. Yeah, I turned my key and forgot that I had just unmuted. Sorry about that. There was a spider, and I don't like bugs, so I'm back now though.
At what point do we stop affirming people who? So where we draw the line? We're just affirming people and gender diversity. That's the line
The
that we
way
draw
that-
is
What
that
line? What did I miss? Sorry.
Oh, we were just.
yeah, they're saying that
Talking.
like they're asking like why gender identity disorder was changed to gender or gender dysphoria. And I was talking about how like we just simply looked at the evidence and saw that there's actually no reason to classify gender nonconforming behaviors as being wrong.
Absolutely. So that makes sense. Where he's asking like, where do we draw the line? That doesn't make sense to me.
I could just say that
Okay,
you're
okay.
different, and therefore we should lock you
Yeah.
up. Then, like,
So
it's
he clarified with, of course, people bring up anorexia all the time, and it drives me insane. They are caused by different things, and they have different treatments. Different things work for anorexia than for gender identity. They are not the same. So obviously, we're going to use a treatment that works well. So that's going to be different for different conditions. And the treatment that we've found that works for gender dysphoria is to affirm these people. Affirmation is not always the best treatment. It is not the best treatment for anorexia. So there is a different good treatment for anorexia, but affirmation happens to be the treatment that works for gender dysphoria. Also, I would say part of the reason it was changed too, is just that there's nothing wrong with being trans. There's no reason that should be considered an illness or anything like that. And when they discovered that, they changed it so that it wasn't referring to being trans as the disorder. It was referring to the distress as the disorder.
Yanessa, you are completely wrong.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We have tried ignoring it. We have tried hospitalization. We have tried
Conversion
medicating,
therapy,
conversion therapy. We have tried multiple
aligning
different ways.
aligning the mind with the body instead of aligning the body with the mind. Yeah,
Yep.
that fails awfully, so much so that it causes people to self-unalive. In
And the thing
the
is,
one good
sorry.
instance we have of it being like researched throughout somebody's life where they try to change his mind to match his body, he ended up growing up, always was a man, and it never worked, so much so that he ended up unaliving himself. So like, we definitely tried other things and they are very harmful. So this is the one thing that we have tried that works. That doesn't mean it's the only thing we've tried. It just means it's the one thing we've tried that works.
And the thing is, we do affirm schizophrenia in a way. We affirm them saying, hey, it is not there, it will be okay.
we
That
acknowledge
is a
that they're
form of
hearing
affirmation.
things. We
You
that
acknowledge that they are having delusions and that those delusions are real.
to them.
We do affirm anorexia in a different way. We affirm, like, hey, we understand that you do not see your body. We see your body in a different way you see it. But the way you are treating yourself is extremely unhealthy. Here are healthy coping mechanisms. Or here is a way to get you back at a healthy weight.
Yeah, so I think what you're saying is like, we affirm the fact that the condition is there and then we treat it accordingly.
And the
Because
success
like,
rates.
you can't tell an anorexic person we don't see the fact that you think you're not skinny enough or whatever the pushing driving factor of that anorexia is. We do affirm, hey, we acknowledge the fact that you don't think you're skinny enough and we see you differently. But with gender affirming care, it's, hey, we acknowledge that you are experiencing this gender dysphoria and we are going to solve it in this particular case by affirming in the sense of we're going to line up the external to align with the internal, if that makes sense.
Somebody said that doesn't the harm rate stay, relatively the same? Yeah, it does, because the depression, anxiety, the reasoning behind depression, anxiety, the number one predictors of these within transgender individuals is family acceptance. It's being accepted within those, your family and those close to you. That is the number one predictor of mental health outcomes. If you're just, no matter what you do to help alleviate any sort of other condition, it's not going to change the fact that people just don't accept you for who you are. And that's something I've experienced. I've had people, to a lesser degree, reject me for who I am. And it fucking sucks. It is the worst thing. And it's only once people start accepting you for who you are that you will ever start to feel better about these things, no matter what is done. That
And
still
the
doesn't mean.
success rates. Oh, sorry.
Oh yeah, and that doesn't mean that we were still not taking the most medically, recommended, understood, best, outcome expecting procedures that we have currently. This is what we
And
have. We have a history that is just harming individuals, and there's nothing, nothing positive came out of it. And
Chris,
success rates for.
Sorry.
Oh, it's
Go ahead.
okay. The success rates for schizophrenia treatment and anorexia treatment has a more positive outcome, and the affirming your body to your mind, or affirming what you see to the reality, is much higher than the previous attempts of treating gender dysphoria. The unalignment rate for trans people are still very high, but that's because the lack of acceptance and care towards the trans community.
Okay, I'm going to address a commenter and then do a little mod break while we're here. It looks like somebody is requesting up. I'm not sure if it's a friendly or not. We'll get to you in one moment. If you disagree with the prompt, please request to join if you'd like to have a discussion, especially you, Chris. It absolutely can be a social contagion, especially in younger years, says Chris. You are very incorrect. Every study that we have shows that this is not the case. Again, we even have studied people trying to match up their mind with their body and trying to teach them, hey, you should do these things with your mother because we think you're a woman. And so we're going to literally expose you to these things with your mother and try to make you like do makeup with her and stuff like that growing up, instead of doing these things where you would mimic your father. And this dude still grew up as a boy into a man, even when we tried to use social contagion, if you will, in order to make him think that he was a woman when he never was. So yeah, that won't work. Tap the screen if you enjoy these conversations. Things like continuing to comment, continuing to like, continuing to share with people. Those are all things that help us continue doing these lives. So if you enjoy this conversation, whether you're up or friendly, please do continue to do these things. If you are not already following the live creator, if you see a big red follow button up by Stotsky's name up there, go ahead and click that red button so that you're following and you can see when we're live later on. All right, I think my mod work is over. Thank you for requesting up when you disagree. I need to sorry, one last thing. Somebody said they were reporting the chat. Is that a block, Keaton?
Yeah, I don't give a shit. That's fine.
Okay.
They can
What
just.
are you reporting for?
Yeah, it's called Coat Below.
Well, hi everyone.
Hi. Do you disagree with the prompt? And can you get your age and pronouns, please?
I'm almost 34, Taurus season. My pronouns she, her, I guess. I had questions about the prompt, actually. I wanted to define the word wrong in this context.
Anyway, I mean, it's atypical, but like it's not bad. It doesn't harm anybody. There's nothing. It doesn't harm yourself or anybody else in itself. Being transgender doesn't harm you, anybody else. It's fine to be transgender. Having gender nonconforming behaviors, ideas, beliefs, actions. These are all things that are like just non-consequential in any way.
Okay. Well, in that case, I would agree with that first statement.
Yeah. The only problems that will arise is if you have something like gender dysphoria, which that is a clinical, that's like characterized by a clinical level of distress. And like clearly, if you're having distress about something, that's a problem, and we need to look at it. But there's only.
So by that, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
You continue. Sorry. So I was gonna say. So by that, you're is it distinguishing
Yeah.
transgender differently than gender dysphoria?
They are two separate things.
Correct.
They're often so people with gender dysphoria typically are transgender. I wouldn't even necessarily say it's something that's like necessarily has to be together, but I would say it's be very rare for them not to be, if you have gender dysphoria, for you not to be trans, but it is very common for transgender people not to have gender dysphoria. And
Okay, so but when you're saying it's very common for them to have gender dysphoria, or these things are often seen together, is that like the diagnosis or someone being transgender and we're assuming that they have gender dysphoria?
so we can there is no diagnosis for being trans, first off. There is only diagnoses for like things like gender dysphoria. Being trans in itself is just having a gender identity that doesn't align with your sex or gender that was assigned with you at birth. It's very vague in that sense, and that there's a very wide spectrum of how people who are transgender like convey themselves. It's some of it is very small, but other times there's quite dramatic changes versus what a culture would expect from an individual.
Yeah.
But
Sorry,
just
I was
simply
just gonna.
disagreeing with cultural norms is not problematic if it's just
So
like
in
how
yours, it's like by your definition, you're saying people who are gender non-conforming are transgender.
if they see that their gender is the gender
Yeah,
itself is
so
non-conforming. Because like being
if
gender non-conforming, like there's aspects that I do, things that I do that are not considered to be gender conforming, but I wouldn't consider myself transgender. It is the actual self reflection of your personality, your individuality upon
I
the
forgot
culture
what
that is
yeah.
what's going to distinguish you if you consider yourself transgender or not.
Yeah, I
I
also want to
forgot what the
clarify
name is.
that when we're talking about gender dysphoria, it is a very wide range of things. So when it comes to gender dysphoria, there could be a trans person that is only dysphoric about the clothing that is typically worn by their sex assigned at birth. So all they may need to do to resolve that is start wearing clothing that aligns with who they are, versus all the way up to like needing medical transition because there are physical aspects of yourself that cause that distress. So it can be something that doesn't even require surgery or hormones or anything like that sometimes. And then other times, I would not say this is the majority of trans people. I would say this is actually a pretty small percentage of trans people that actually have gender dysphoria to the point that they need medical transition, especially surgeries. Most people, when they have gender dysphoria, most trans people can resolve that by wearing binders, wearing implants, wearing whatever else, using different pronouns and a different name, things like that can also resolve gender dysphoria. So it is very it's a very broad spectrum of things that can cause that dysphoria.
I'm sorry. Are you a psychiatrist or psychologist to
I am an
define
autistic person with a special interest who has done a shitload of research into these things. And I also happen to be trans and experience gender dysphoria myself.
I
Yeah, but you're
mean,
defining the disorder, which is why I asked that question.
I
Well, I've literally have read the definition of like gender dysphoria from the DSM-5
yeah,
multiple times in my life. So I'm not taking like random internet sources. I can invite some up here if you would like to hear from a psychologist. I have a couple of friends that are on our panel sometimes,
I'm
but
not.
what I'm saying isn't invalid just because I'm not a psychologist.
Okay, it seems like you took offense to the question. I'm asking the question so I'm clear on what the definition of, because you're defining the disorder. That's why I asked the question to
Yeah, that's
reference
okay. And
the
you can think
definition
that
of.
I'm taking offense. I'm not. I'm another thing that for me in particular comes with my autism is that I'm not typically aware of the certain like prosody and intonation that I'm using in my speech and how others may interpret that and like think of these implied things with the words that I'm using and stuff. So if I was upset, A, my voice would probably be louder, and B, I probably would be using actual like literal words that showed my upsetness, like if that makes any kind of sense. Like you'd know. Unless it's very very clear that I'm upset, then I'm not upset.
Can I address the fact that you brought up gender non-conforming people real quick?
I was trying to ask what the new term. I don't know the new term for gender non-conforming.
I think you might have your hand over your mic or something because it's really difficult to hear you. Okay, that's better now.
I wanted to ask what it's not called gender non-conforming.
Non-binary?
That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah,
That's what I was trying to ask about earlier.
non-binary.
Me too, non-binary gang. Okay, sorry.
I also experienced a very large amount of gender dysphoria, and I would consider myself trans because I plan on medically transitioning to my ideal look. I am also a very feminine presenting person. So if you have questions,
what look is that?
My main goal currently is to remove my breast or have a breast reduction and remove my uterus.
And that is, what did you call it?
A hysterectomy.
No, not that.
Being non-binary. Yeah. So not all non-binary people are the same. I happen to, in this case, I don't think that Angel was even aware of this prior, but I happen to be pursuing the same surgeries for myself. I've also been on HRT for about 3 years now. Coming up on July 1st, it'll be 3 years. And I'm getting top surgery later this year, which is just awesome. Oh my God. Celebrate. I know, it really is exciting. I've been waiting for like literally almost a decade to be able to get this surgery. So I'm very, very excited about that. But the reason I bring this up is because some non-binary people, let's say you were born female and you're non-binary, some of those people would still be comfortable with the feminine expression that they're showing. There are so many different there are so many different titles under non-binary. You can be bigender, you can be gender fluid, you can be agender, you can be ace gender. There's like literally a massive list of things that that you can be under that non-binary umbrella. So it shows up differently in every non-binary person, what kinds of medical transition care they want, if any at all, what kinds of social transition they want, if any at all. It varies a lot, but we're all still valid in our own identities.
And we can still experience gender dysphoria just as much as a trans woman or a trans man.
Yep. Okay. Sorry. I don't know. I think we're both done for now. So go ahead.
Sorry. What is it? You said not non-binary. Non-binary. I don't know much about non-binary. It says Cole was explaining that. I'm not gonna. I don't care about like the title of things like that. That's why I was asking like your personal experience of it. Like I don't know how to say it in a nice way. I can do an interpersonal thing, but like as a broad, I don't care about the broad thing. But
do you care more about personal experiences?
Yeah,
or
I could do interpersonal. That
So
I
anecdotes for, I'm sorry, I just want to clarify and then I'll let you go ahead.
okay.
Are you looking for anecdotal experiences more so than like research and description in that sense?
Well, so you said that it's like lots of different things that can go into it. That's not going to be something that I can like relate to or understand in an interpersonal level. If I want to understand how someone like your point of view is my goal in understanding the idea of it. That helps me better.
So
Okay.
I'm
I
gonna hop in here too, real quick. A lot of the ways that I understand non-binary is that it's individuals who experience themselves as having a gender that's outside of like what we would consider like man or woman. And it's not even that necessarily not everybody would consider them outside of these, but it's that they themselves consider it, and that comes with a lot of different things, and it's really hard to like put down like these like very concrete definitions just due to how fluid gender in itself as a social construct is. What one society might see as non-binary might be might be seen as very much a man or a woman in another. So it is comes down to like how individuals experience it. It is just talking about not being a part of the what we would consider gender binary, which I would just reject
Yeah.
exists in the first
Yeah,
place.
I totally understand the generalization of it. It would just help me
To hear personal
to
Yes.
experience.
Would
yeah.
you like to also
Yeah.
hear my experiences with gender dysphoria or how I define myself as non-binary?
Well, not the you said non-binary. I
Non.
don't. I feel like that doesn't get it for me. But you
Yeah.
spoke about a hysterectomy and
Mhm.
what did you call it?
Top surgery or a breast reduction,
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah.
if I
That.
remember
So how
correctly.
does that get you to where you're trying to go?
I personally would like to reject all ideas other than femininity as a being a woman or a female. I feel extreme discomfort with the fact that I am female and biologic a woman. I'm not a woman, but I would like to reject being a woman in all capacities. I do not feel happy with myself, with how I am currently biologically presenting. It makes me feel extreme discomfort with myself, and I would like to um and wait, I'm finding the words. And I feel like that would help me a lot. I'm also planning on going on a small dosage of testosterone to make myself look more androgynous because I feel like I look very
Feminine.
yeah. But I enjoy dressing feminine and I enjoy doing some feminine activities.
So you like dresses and makeup, but you don't like boobs.
I I hate my boobs.
You know what? Here's the thing too. I love a good pair of tits, just not on me. That is
Oh yeah,
where I'm at with things.
yeah.
So it's not that we don't like them, it's just that it's not who
For
we
you.
are. Yeah, it doesn't line up with who we are. So just like there's this condition called gynecomastia, and it's when somebody who is assigned male at birth and is
I know what
typically with
gynecomastia is.
with a cis man, where they grow breast tissue, and it I assume it's a very very similar feeling, if not pretty much the same,
Mm,
that
I
people
don't know
who
if
are
that's it.
trans who have dysphoria with breasts, it's probably a very similar if not the same feeling. So what those men would do in that situation is, if it's affecting their lives, they would go get surgery and get them removed, and that's exactly what we're doing. So yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. I was gonna ask a personal question, but I'm
That's
not trying
okay.
to be like a creep when I ask it.
No shame. I'm very public with everything.
Yeah, and if
I
we
was
don't
like,
want to answer
you just have
something, we'll
large
just let you
breasts?
know.
Yes,
Me
They're
too,
large,
unfortunately.
they're
like
above a D.
36 triple D or in the
I
E,
am.
E, F.
I'm also still growing. I am currently a 34 double D.
Okay, I thought it was gonna be like it's a condition where they don't stop. I forgot. I
No.
don't know. I forgot what it's called.
No, I'm
No,
still
that can happen as
experiencing
well.
puberty.
But
I forgot what it's like a condition with like they just keep going, and I.
No, I'm still in puberty.
Oh, okay.
yeah, being 18, you're still gonna have some development. I'm
Oh
25 at
yeah,
this
for
point,
sure.
so my puberty has ended, and I've been on HRT for 3 years, like I said. But and I don't always share this, right? But like I don't mind sharing it when it comes up when people are curious for whatever reason. So, before I was on HRT, I had a 28 waist, to be clear. So it's not
Oh,
like yeah, that made the difference a lot more obvious, because you guys know how bra sizing works, how like A would be 1 inch added to the waist size and so on and so forth. So having a smaller waist size is going to result in a bigger cup size. So for me, I was actually a 28 double G before I got onto
oh, wow.
HRT. Yeah, so I'm not aware of having any condition where like things just never stop growing. Like now that I'm done with
No,
puberty and on
I don't know if
HRT,
you have,
it's
but
not a
I don't
problem,
know.
but it definitely has been for all of my life. I was a double D going into high school at 14.
Oh well, I
So
was
yeah,
flat chested
it's been
most of
rough.
my time, so I didn't get boobs until after 25. I don't know what that's like.
Oh,
It's
the
tough,
back pain.
especially when you don't want them. A lot of muscle tension in your shoulders. It's different when you wear bras versus when you don't. And I haven't worn bras in years, so um, I can't necessarily like describe to you all the different pains. But I always had marks when I wore bras, like very severe
No,
ones that
I
never went
know all
away, shit
the
like that.
boob
So
issues. Boobs are they're issues, low key, but
they're cute
like they
on other people, like I
sweat.
said. But yes, they're
They look
issues. Sorry, go ahead.
nice. A lot of people have nice boobs. Not everyone has nice boobs, but I can understand it. I mean, especially like the reduction idea of it. I'm a lady with boobs. I get the reduction. Um,
The only reason I'm considering a reduction is because of my body shape. I feel like if I just completely got chopped them all off, I feel like it wouldn't look good. Again, I'm still growing. I'm
yeah,
still
because
a
that's when you said reduction or removal, and you're like, that's why I'm like, you're wait, it's not. Damn, I can't keep the term in my head.
Non-binary again. Yep.
Non-binary, non-binary. Your goal, you're non-binary. You are opting to reduce instead of remove because you just said you don't think it would look for your whatever
I
in
still
your head.
yeah. I still very much prioritize looks than over comfort sometimes.
I will interject real quick and just say, if you're gonna be on HRT, like you mentioned, even a smaller dose, it will change how your body looks entirely. So, I wouldn't say be on HRT before you get top surgery because maybe your boobs will get smaller. That's not why I'm saying it. When I say maybe take HRT for a little while before you get top surgery, it's because you'll see a different body shape forming, and you might see that new body shape and then be like, hey, having a flat chest might actually look better on this.
Are
So
you
for
talking about
you in
fat
particular, I
distribution?
might recommend that, Angel. Sorry, what was that?
Are you talking about fat distribution? Because boobs are
Yeah,
fat.
that's part of it, but part of it is also the muscle gain. Um, your body just
Sure.
looks entirely different. I have so much more muscle on my body, and my fat has moved indeed. So yeah, I'm not even saying you should be on it for like years before you get top surgery,
I'm
but
gonna
just
ask
to
you
help
guys.
inform, Angel, just in your case, to help inform which one you get, that might be a good idea.
Yeah, I'm definitely planning on starting HRT. The thing, wait. From what other people have told me, it's like a second puberty, but for the
Yeah.
opposite gender. So yeah, that I'm planning on doing tests starting T when I'm 20. And then start saving money for the top surgery. If I like how I look, I'm gonna use that money for
What?
something else.
No, that's awesome. I love that.
Mhm.
And giving yourself a break between puberty is not a bad idea. I started tea. The funny thing too, sorry if you guys hear it playing. The funny thing too is that I didn't even think that I wanted to be on tea for a lot of my life. I just thought I wanted top surgery and a hysterectomy and I'd be happy. And I might stop tea at some point in my life because I want that different fat distribution back. Probably not, because the muscle has helped a lot with my physical disability as well, but I might at some point, and that's a lot of non-binary people will do that. They'll get the changes in their voice or whatever else they're looking for that they want, and those changes are permanent, so they can stop taking the HRT and still have those changes, but then go back to a more androgynous in the way of feminine fat redistribution, if that makes any sense. So like, yeah, there's a lot of, I could totally get into it. Also, hi friend, hi Tripos, it's good to see you.
Hi.
We already know your pronouns and your age and all that good stuff, so you're good to go. But yeah, I don't know if you were here earlier, and it was very okay for you to ask this question, but it was asked of me if I was like a therapist or psychologist or something like that. And funny enough, I did not invite you directly, but here is a therapist, somebody who has a psychology degree. So if you have any questions and you want them to be informed from somebody from that perspective, there you go.
No, I just need to know how I'm supposed to absorb information. That's why I ask these kind of questions. But I did have 2 questions for the non-binary.
Yay, good job.
So you guys were talking about boobs,
Mm-hmm.
and Cole, says you said something about your voice. I was gonna ask about your voice. I'm not trying to be rude.
It's okay. Curiosity is normal.
I thought you killed the cat. No, I'm kidding.
No, curiosity, and when I say this, I don't mean stop being curious. I mean to that kind of reservation before you ask is good out in normal society. If you just like see and meet a trans person, you should not ask them these types of things, to be abundantly
Be curious
clear.
with the right people.
Exactly, but because you are on this panel and our goal is to educate people, and the trans people that happen to be up here are okay with sharing these things, it is okay to ask. So when it comes to my voice in particular, the thing I like most about my voice is I love to sing. I went to college for music. I know that's not related to HRT, but I love my voice. I loved it before I was on HRT. I love it now. I am not on, like Angel said, they might go on to a lower dose of testosterone. I'm on a full dose of testosterone and have been for the last 3 years that I've been on it. So my voice has lowered over that time period. A lot of that change will happen within the first year of being on HRT. If you're on a lower dose like Angel, then you won't have as dramatic of a shift, but it will still take time to occur. And when you're on testosterone, so when you're on masculinizing hormones, androgens, your voice will lower. And even if you stop taking those hormones, your voice isn't going to go back to how it was before.
Yeah, because
But
your vocal cords
if you,
stretch.
yeah,
You cannot
well,
unstretch them.
they actually thicken is what causes it. Yeah, so the thickening of the vocal cords is what causes the drop in the voice, and they're gonna stay that way for the rest of your life unless you get voice surgery. But if you are if you're on feminizing hormones, if you're a trans woman or trans feminine in some way, then your voice is not going to raise with those hormones. It's just because that thickening already happened if you went through a male puberty. Now, if you were a teenager and you were on puberty blockers and then you went on HRT, your voice would be high because you would have never gone through the male puberty that thickens those vocal cords and that larynx and causes your voice to drop. But if you're an adult and you go through the HRT at that point and you've already gone through that puberty, then it will not raise your voice at all. So I hope that answers all your voice questions.
Yeah, I was, well, I appreciate the general information.
I'm fine with giving
I
person.
did have another question. Well, I think I have two, if I can remember the second one. You guys were talking about how you look. Well, is it? Can't see your whole name. Well, it just says the internet. So the internet was talking about your goal and how you look, but you guys were talking about like how your breasts look. Do we think about other fat distribution like
Yes.
butt and thighs?
Yes.
For us, yes. For other people, maybe not.
It really does depend person to person. I'm going, like you said, you prefer more personal. I hate my body. Not gonna lie with you. But yeah, it for me, and I'm gonna assume Cole based off what they have been saying, we do not like how certain things of our body looks due to the fact that we were born female. Yeah,
You guys are going for like
And
I can't think of a
I want to look like a
female
feminized
any
skinny
person. I
twin.
can only think of Prince.
yeah, we're only thinking, or we're only, speaking for ourselves. So for me, just to clarify a little bit for Angel, I actually, I don't at all mind the fat distribution that I had before I was on HRT. For me, that was not the reason that I started taking it. I love what it's done with my voice. I love the muscle that I can gain and maintain easier. Like I said, that actually happens to help me a lot with my physical disability. So that's something else for me personally to consider. But if later in life I could get off of testosterone and not have that affect my physical disability, I probably would do that at some point because my voice would stay the same and then I would get the fat distribution that is feminine again. I would already have top surgery at that point, so I wouldn't have breasts, but I would have more like hips and stuff. For me, I like the androgyny. So right now, because I have breasts, I would not like to have hips. But later in life, when I don't have breasts, I might want to have hips, or I might start dressing more femininely again. I love fashion. I've always loved fashion. I just don't want to look like a woman. It's not only about how we see ourselves, it's also about how other people see us as well. So it gets kind of complicated when we're talking about gender presentation, but and with dysphoria as well. So for me, I don't think as much about how I'm perceived as how I perceive myself. And so yeah, I like to have that balance of feminine and masculine all embodied in one person.
So like would it bother you guys if you were addressed in like the regular like a Mr. or a Sir?
For me personally, I would prefer to be called Miss if they don't know another option.
That's gender neutral. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I would say typically we shoot for gender neutral options. Like,
What's gender
you can
neutral
just
in that?
compliment somebody. You can be like, how are you doing today, lovely? Or how are you doing today, handsome or beautiful or whatever. You can pick any one of those words. And they're gender neutral. And I love that personally. And then
In serious
if
situations, you could also call them doctor.
yeah, other titles of course
Yeah.
as well, but also for me, see how this is different. If you have to use gendered language for me, I prefer masculine, so I prefer sir or mister or something like that. But I out of all of those titles, I prefer mix. Most people just don't know that is a title that exists that some people prefer. So
MIX?
yeah, yeah, MX.
Oh, MX. Okay.
Yep.
It's
And
like
it's pronounced the same as
but
MIX, yeah. Lover girl, hey girl, what's up? Sorry, I don't know if I've seen you in our lives before, so I just wanted to say hi to my friend. You're also always welcome up.
it's similar to Zer. That is
I've
also
heard
a
of
more
that
gender.
one.
That's also a
We
gender
love
neutral.
neopronouns.
I love neopronouns. But yeah, pronouns and how you what's the word for it? Address someone differs to person to person. If there is no other options, like Cole said, they prefer masculine. I prefer feminine.
So I'm asking as someone not into I'm not of any of this,
Uh-huh.
right? Um, I drive trucks, right? And this is a masculine field,
Ooh, I
and like
love
a lot of
trucking.
the times, they
Mhm.
they expect a man to like be there. They'll be like, yeah, Mister or Sir or whatever, and then they just like look at me and they correct themselves, but like I never think anything of it. But like if I was a server, they use Mister and Ma'am a lot in that context.
Mhm.
So
I
that's why I
think
was asking.
Yeah, so I think some of the examples I brought up earlier, or like how are you people doing lovely people doing today? Is there anything I can get for you? Like anything like that where you don't necessarily use the titles or you pick like a compliment even like and for you beautiful, like what would you like? Just
Hmm.
going like that more so. Um that's the solution that I prefer. But
Or
if
if you want to be funny, you could be like, "Hello, my fellow humans."
yeah, stuff like that. Like there's so many options,
No, that's funny.
I
Yeah.
just
No,
hope
I
that we
haven't been
can
out
move
in a
away
while,
from
so
sorry.
I'm not really sure. I haven't been out in a while, but from my, it's been a long time, but in my old experience, that's what they addressed it as. But I understand what you would like prefer or what would make it easier in like your guys's context. But
Are
if
you
it
asking like what
happened,
would you do if it
not
happened?
like necessarily what would you do, because I would hope like it would be like a teaching thing, but like essentially does it bother you if you are addressed in the wrong way?
Oh, that okay. I,
That's a
I
good
understand
question.
now. Um sorry, Angel, do you want to go first real quick?
Uh, we always have to bring it up. Yeah, it differs from person to person. It does make me kind of uncomfortable if they sometimes if whoa, stutter. It does make me uncomfortable, but like as I said, if you have to refer to me as Mr. or Miss, I would prefer to be called Miss. It still makes me kind of uncomfortable. I'll be like, if I'm in a situation with my friends, I'd be like, "Hey, I'm not a miss. I'm sorry if I look like one. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, and it's
It would
so
definitely
sorry.
be awkward with it too. But if I'm with my family, I would just sit uncomfortably.
Mm.
Yeah, it's very dependent on like the environment that you're in. Funny story actually that should answer your question somewhat as well. So, when I wear a jacket, I'm always in like big clothing. First of all, so I'm in like baggy t-shirts, big jackets, stuff like that. When I'm in big jackets, sometimes I am not perceived as a woman, which is great. And part of the reason that I do it, right? So I was grocery shopping. This was a few months ago. I was grocery shopping. I was checking out at the self checkout, and there was this older woman who was working the self checkout. She comes over to check my ID because I'm getting alcohol and she's got to do the little scan thing. So she does all of that. She realizes that I'm paying with 2 cards, which I always do and I never need help with. She goes over to help somebody else as I'm finishing checking out. And as she's helping this other person who was like pretty far away-ish, she thinks that I'm gonna need help, so she's trying to get me to like hold up so that I can get her help, right? So she turns around and was trying to get my attention as I'm finishing up, and she goes, "Ma'am," and she said ma'am probably 4 or 5 times, getting louder every single time. And I did not realize that she was trying to get my attention
Oh
because
yeah.
I didn't know necessarily that she had perceived me in that way. And I just typically, because I'm in an environment where I'm not misgendered, I don't respond to things like ma'am sometimes, things like that. So I didn't even know she was like trying to talk to me. I turn around confused, like, why is this woman yelling ma'am at somebody? And she's looking straight at me. So now I realize, like, oh, she was talking to me. So when I realize, most of the time I do realize that people are referring to me when I am misgendered. That is a unique scenario. But and it does come with discomfort sometimes. Like if I'm not going to correct somebody in that type of a situation because I'm probably never going to see that person again. Or maybe I'll see them a couple of times a year if they continue to work at the grocery store that I went to, you know? So there are situations where I won't say anything. But for example, one of my grandmas was visiting this week and she knows that I'm trans. She knows that I use they, them pronouns. She was talking on the phone with my uncle and was using she, her pronouns for me. And so I corrected her on that. And all we have to do is just say like they, and then the other person corrects themselves. Sometimes apologizes, sometimes doesn't even need to if we know them and we know that that was never their intention and we're just reminding them because of like old habit or things like that. There are environments with my friends where I just try to make my pronouns known at the start. And if somebody messes up, I just let them know. But if it's in an environment where like I'm in a doctor's office or at the grocery store or whatever else, and it's just like somebody I'm not going to see very often, then I usually personally don't address it just because it can turn into a lot for nothing, essentially.
Understood. I don't know if this is like the same situation, but I call my mom girl a lot and she gets really offended by that. And she'll correct me and say, I'm not a girl. Like obviously she's a woman, but she'll be like, I'm not a girl. I'm your mom. I'm mom. I don't know if that's the same.
It could be.
In some ways, I feel like there are parallels.
Yeah, there's a lot of parallels to it. Wait. I have completely opposite experiences with Cole. I get misgendered a lot, like on a daily basis, unalive named and everything. And
That's
because
because your family doesn't.
yeah, they know. It's just they don't. They still think it's a phase.
They just don't care. Is
Yeah,
the
currently
bottom
they
line.
don't.
And this is like something that is on paper preventable,
Yeah,
and they don't fucking care enough to do it. And
yeah.
it's just, I'm sorry you have to
That's why
experience that.
I always have to say it differs to person to person, but I can handle it well.
No one should have
So
to
both of
experience
you.
it. Is the big thing.
Yeah, it's there are different aspects of gender dysphoria that have different like feelings for me too. Like being misgendered is uncomfortable. Sitting with the fact that I'm forced to live with the chest that I have right now, if I really like actually pay attention to that and don't dissociate and settle into that, it's physically painful for me. So like dysphoria can be an absolute range of experience for somebody, like I was talking about earlier as well.
I have a lot more aggressive reactions due to my mental disorders, not because of my dysphoria. Would like to clarify that. My dysphoria is a distressor. My mental disorders makes it worse.
Yeah, makes the reaction the way that it is. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, I have done physical harm to my body because of how uncomfortable I am. But
I'm sorry.
but being misgendered doesn't affect me as much as it might affect Cole. I understand. I am perceived as a woman. I understand that, but I cannot handle my body at all. Does that make sense?
I don't know. I'm a little concerned by your statements. I don't
Oh
know.
no, I'm getting help.
I was about to say they have help from doctors. Even if they don't have help from family, they have even found a little circle of people on the internet. Angel, are you in the Discord?
Which one?
My Discord. Our Discord.
Oh
Come
no,
right
I
now.
just met you. So
you definitely need to get into Stoat's stream server Discord. I've seen you in the comments a lot, but this is the first time that I've been here that you've been up as well. So definitely like your family may not accept you, but you are absolutely valid and you are who the fuck you are, whether they ever recognize it or not. And I know you already know these things, but I feel like it's good to have people around you that you don't ever have to worry about them like misgendering you or having this ill intent towards you in that way. So yeah, if you haven't added me as well, go ahead and do that. You can always
I follow
message me.
you.
Always, always, always. So yeah.
I'm also in the process of making my own community of debaters / trans debaters.
Masturbator.
Too.
I mean, master debater. No.
Yeah, I'm a master debater now. Not to self-promote or anything, but I do go live as often as I can.
Oh, also, I just wanted to say to our guest, thank you for having concern for people. Obviously, like, they're getting the help that they need, so the concern is alleviated by that. But we should all be concerned when people are having these experiences, partially, if not wholly, due to the distress that they're feeling between that mismatch between their gender and their sex. It's important. We should be concerned. And the fact that we have all this legislation against us in the US right now, it's making things worse. So we should all be concerned, and that's why we have these discussions. So I appreciate that humanity, and even for you just saying that, like, it shows me again, like, I feel like the few guests that we've had today have just been very, like, respectful and human and treated us well. So I do appreciate that.
I assume you were talking to me, but I don't understand any of this. I'm not gonna pretend like I do. I mean, I'm not really good with feelings, let alone an incongruence between the mind and body. But we're all human here. I mean, I assume
Exactly.
nobody's a
Like,
robot or alien,
if you
right?
don't
Nobody's a robot or
understand,
alien. Nobody's a robot or alien, right?
no,
Mhm.
I think we're all human up here.
No, I don't think I'm a human. I'm a cat. Actually.
No, but anyways, so yeah, I just wanted to say, even if you don't understand a thing about it, you understand that we're humans and that we deserve respect and sympathy and empathy and all of these things, and that's the part that's important. So thank you.
Yeah,
especially. Oh,
Alex, you
sorry.
can go first. You haven't talked.
I was gonna say, especially now more than ever, because I think that the reality is trans people have always been at major risk of all kinds of physical harm from other people that not only don't understand, but have, like a true irrational aversion to things they don't understand, and they get violent, and it's scary. And, just as like a little anecdote, I know a trans person who has completed all possible necessary kind of transition measures. So they've been on HRT for about 6 years. They just got top surgery. I would say, like, gender expression wise, they dress very colorfully. They'll not stray away from dresses, but they certainly have a deep voice. They certainly have a more masculine kind of presence. And they're not easily swayed by other people because they grew up in like a household that was incredibly supportive. So when there's like an external, force saying, you're not who you say you are, they're like, thanks for sharing. They're very, very sure of who they are. They feel all the more sure and less depressed because they got these procedures, because they got the treatment. And at this point, the only thing they have to fear is what happened to them a few months ago. I'll tell you, they were basically traveling to like kind of like a campsite to go on a little trip. And on the in-between, on the way back, they hit a gas station. And they were just going in to use the restroom. Now, mind you, this is a big conversation right now. And mind you, there's only one restroom in the gas station. So it's not even like they had a choice. And before they could even approach the bathroom, they had a man that was 50 something years old, standing 6'5", towering over them, throwing things at them from across the store, threatening to hit them and pummel them out the door if they went near the restroom. And
What?
I mean, what kind of unprompted violence is that? I mean, and mind
And
you,
it's
I won't
not
get into like,
uncommon.
yeah, and like that was a teenager, by the way. That wasn't some grown adult who knows how to handle, the world and to expect all of these potential threats yet. This is a
Why would you
teen
expect
who
that
was,
though?
what?
Why would that be like an expectation? That's
Right.
Wait,
Right.
but this isn't. You said it's a one stall unisex bathroom at a random
Right.
gas station.
Right. And he didn't want them to use it because he couldn't tell who they were, and it bothered him. And
This
he
is one of those
threatens
where it
physical
literally
violence
doesn't matter.
against right, and threatens physical violence against a teenager without their parents present, without anyone really there to fully grasp the situation, all on their own. This is not the kind of world that kids and teens should be dealing with. Like, these conversations lead to people saying that we need to create legislation that limits parents' rights to make medical decisions on behalf of their children and alongside their children and teens. And at the same time, we have people out in the world that are willing to physically threaten a teenager in a gas station all by themselves in the middle of nowhere because they just don't like that.
But
And it's, you know, yeah.
so I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I agree with everything. I don't. But I disagree wholeheartedly all the time, all the way with violence. Like I don't understand that. Um, but like, what was the resolution of like? Then what happened?
Oh, the resolution is they had to just get in the car with these like acquaintance friends they had made because, you know, it's like this group thing. Just had to like literally run out of the gas station while other people tried to hold this guy back. That's it. Just had to run. And you know, luckily there were people to hold the guy back.
I was about to say a lot of
Wait,
times there isn't people to stop anyone and there is no
Right.
place to run.
Mhm.
So this is not an uncommon thing for trans people,
Yeah, it's
whether they
not.
have dysphoria or not, whether they have surgeries or not, whether they are adolescents or not.
Y'all
This
don't
is
call the
not
police?
uncommon, unfortunately, and I'm just really in that situation. I'm glad that they were able to get out, and this is why, again, another big reason that we talk about it, because people won't think. They just see a trans person and then it's just like this rageful reaction towards us, and it can turn out any number of ways, unfortunately.
Mhm. And a lot of times, I was going to say, sorry, 1 second, to answer your question really quick to the guest. The reason they didn't call the police is because they were scared of retaliation, because they wanted to get as far away from this guy who was heightened as possible, as quick as
Oh no,
possible.
that guy needs to be arrested.
Oh, tell me
actually
about
have
it.
a
But I mean,
story
they don't
about
have
calling the
faith.
police.
What happens also too if the police officer is also just fucking bigoted?
Yeah.
Exactly.
This is
I actually
there's
I
a
don't know.
rational
I'm
fear.
black and people talk about stuff like that happening with black people. It's personally never happened with me. And I'm not saying that like things like this is easy, right? But
I
gotta
don't
be something else.
I don't think people show racism anywhere near to the degree that they show transphobia in public anymore. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm not saying that it's not bad that people would be racist. I just don't think
I
it
would say it
happens on
definitely
the.
depends where.
Yeah,
And
I would
also
agree with that
like
too. I live in a fairly
acknowledging the
progressive
That's
area
the
history,
too,
point I was trying
so
to make.
acknowledging the
Like I drive
history of
trucks, and that was like racism was something big for me going into like deep southern states and stuff like that.
yeah.
Um,
I understand that the police system is based off of slave catchers. That's where it came from. So if we acknowledge that part as well, I definitely think that it is fair to acknowledge that the risk from the police may be I mean it's different. It may be more, and then you have black trans folks as well. You have that intersectionality of all of it.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of times there's it just because the system was built to oppress black people and other people of color doesn't mean it doesn't also oppress other minorities like queer folks and trans people as well in other ways. So I just kind of want to bring it all together and acknowledge all of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Like a
yeah,
black,
but I mean, like,
yeah.
what, like, that guy's just on the loose though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
have
it's
a very fun story for you.
That's
I
assault.
there was a gender neutral bathroom at my school. This was before I finished my credits. This was sophomore year. So I went to go use the gender neutral bathroom because the women at my school do not feel comfortable with me there, and I don't want to use the men's bathroom. It's gross. It's a bunch of
What?
teenage boys are gross. So
Yeah.
I was on my way to the gender neutral bathroom, and a student walked up to me saying, "What are you doing over here?" It's like, "Oh, I was gonna go pee," and was like, "Why are you over here?" I was like, "Because I want to. Is there a problem with me going pee?" And it's like, "Oh yeah, you have to go pee where your smex goes pee." And I was like, "You don't know my smex." At this time, I was very masculine presenting, short hair, everything. The only thing that could tell me off was the fact that my face is feminine. And I went pee. I went out of the bathroom. He brought his friends over, and I got jumped because I went to use the gender neutral bathroom. I went straight to the school police officer, showed him everything, and nothing happened. He did not get charged. I pressed charges. He did not get charged. Nothing happened.
What the heck?
Yeah.
There we go.
But he did drop out of school, and now he is homeless, so karma did all that.
Sorry, not to just like laugh at that. Like,
Oh no, I'm laughing.
No, that's funny.
people
Tucker got what he
get what they
deserved.
deserve. I'll just
Yeah.
say that.
Yeah. And I guess inevitably what like, I think part of what occurs to me too is that like, and maybe this is better suited for people like, you, Cole, who are, in some sense mask presenting or, anything like that, where, like, I guess to put it like this, like your transness is more obvious than mine, let's say. Cause like, I'm non-binary, but it's not like if someone looks at me walking down the street, they would have any concept that that's the case. Like they just wouldn't, and it's fine. But it's like for those that are just out in the open, just, just throwing off the gender roles enough to confuse somebody. It's like, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of women out there, unfortunately, that would also like come for trans people and be really rude and mean and everything. But it's like everywhere that trans people go, they have to be so mindful of men. Like that's really the main issue is like men will go out of their ways to be physically intimidating, hostile, and violent at times. And because there's such an uproar about the trans community right now, coming from like the conservative basically side of the aisle. I mean, it's coming from there. I don't know that everyone who's conservative feels that way, but it's like, if they're pushing this message that you should be afraid of these people, and then this grown man feels that he now has the like
Upper hand.
righteous, right, like this righteous act on behalf of the police as some kind of like vigilante justice. It's just I mean, what are trans people supposed to do with that? Hide in their house all the time? It's
Yeah,
like
that's
people
what I'm
should be
doing.
able to.
What is anyone
Yeah,
supposed
there
to
needs
do
to
with
be
that,
better
though?
accountability.
Yeah, unfortunately, my life, like, at least for now, until I've had top surgery and I'm not so easily clockable, a lot of it is lived in my house because of this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sorry. Hold on. It's
I believe in you. You got this.
it's
Non-binary?
not my non-binary.
Do you want me to
Why
break?
is that so hard for me?
You want me to break down
It's
the?
okay, you've been
I keep
doing
wanting
great
to say
work.
gender non-conforming, but it's not the same thing. Okay, non-binary. Non-binary. I'm gonna get that.
You got this. I believe in you.
Good, but like, okay. Cole said that it's lots of variations within non-binary.
Mhm.
Everyone feels differently about it. But I feel like both of you were talking about essentially the defeminization of yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, because gender is literally
It could
talking
go the other
about
way.
masculinity and femininity. So of course we're going to be
Yeah,
talking about
and-
masculinity or femininity at some point.
For Angel and I,
Wait, I feel like I need to finish the thought before you guys can answer. So
Sorry, what was that?
So like I'm trying to understand, and it's like I think you both are female. I think you both said that. Born female.
Yeah, I am.
You're non-binary, and both of you are essentially trying to look less female, right? And
Mhm.
No.
no.
I
Less
am.
woman generally would be.
Yeah, and that's not my goal personally. So for some people, that's how they view it. For me, that's not how I view this. I'm reaching for androgyny, and I'm reaching for like even as my voice got deeper, and I became more comfortable in speaking and just not having dysphoria when I speak. I didn't have like the worst dysphoria ever with a higher pitched voice. But I don't even associate like, yes, logically, if I look at and observe other people, I see how a low voice is typically associated with pushing away femininity. For me, it's not that at all. For me, it's just lining myself up with who I am in my presentation in any way I can. And having a lower voice doesn't mean that I'm less feminine or in any way, or that I appreciate femininity any less. I want to be able to embody everything. I want to be able to have this androgyny where I am fully in line with myself and I can pick out cool, stylish clothes for myself. And I can feel like the world might look at me and everybody might see me as a different gender. It just pick someone. Somebody thinks I'm a woman. Somebody thinks I'm a man. Somebody else thinks I'm a non-binary. Somebody else is entirely confused because they're not educated enough to pull together a thought pattern on that. And that is what gives me something called gender euphoria.
Yeah,
Which is
you don't want to
something
be a cookie cutter. You don't want to be cookie
exactly.
cutter. Yeah,
So for
you don't
me,
want to
it's
pick
just
between.
embracing these things instead of pushing away from femininity. It's embracing all the different parts of femininity and masculinity and another gender, if there may be another gender in the world, or a lack of gender that I experience as well. Like all these things come into play. If you're agender, I would say you're probably not trying to look feminine or masculine. You may be pushing away from those things. If you are a gender abolitionist, you definitely don't identify with any of those things, no matter how you present. So, like in certain cases, yes, you would be right that they'd be pushing away from the concepts of femininity and masculinity. But in our case, at least for me personally and my flavor of non-binary, I'm accepting all these different aspects in different ways, if that makes sense.
I'm
Okay,
personally a rejecter, but I enjoy to dabble. Does that make sense? I like sometimes I'm not gender fluid. I'm void gender. That means absence of gender. It's similar to what's it? It's similar to agender.
Yep.
Um I like dabbling. I would like my goal is to look like a skinny twink but still look pretty. That's the best way to describe it.
Incredible.
Okay, so I asked this because I like in understanding. I'm trying to like relate it to myself.
Uh-huh.
And I said I drive trucks, right? So I'm not like if you could see my profile picture, I look snatched. I'm looking
You
really
look
Absolutely
girly,
stunning.
right? But that's not me on a regular basis. Like I drive trucks. Obviously, I'm not wearing a bodysuit with my titties pushed up to here. I'm for the most part, I'm wearing work boots and Timberlands, mostly Crocs. I love my Crocs.
Ooh, I love a good low top.
Comfy.
So like I'm not like, but I don't think of it like that. Like obviously, I drive trucks, so wearing a bodysuit all the time is not something that's comfortable to do. But if I'm going out and I'm trying to attract the male species, I'm not going to be wearing sweatpants and Crocs either.
No, yeah, it's kind of like that.
So, yeah, like, but of course, throughout all of that, I assume you don't look at yourself as any more or less of a woman when you're wearing Crocs and sweatpants or all dressed up and nice, right? So,
When I'm really dressed up, I'm like I do feel more
yeah, I love
feminine.
that
Like
feeling.
I'm you know like.
So,
But when I'm not dressed up, I don't feel any less. But like when I'm all
exactly.
jazzed up, it's like,
That's
oh my God.
I am the best woman, right? Okay. Anyways, those thoughts and that euphoria is great. That's actually gender euphoria right there. What you're describing when you're dressed up is you feeling euphoric in the fact that you're a woman and that you're able to express it in those specific ways. For us, we're looking to express more androgynously, no matter what body parts or outfits we're pulling together, you know, whatever that looks like. And no matter what we're wearing or what our body looks like, whatever sex we were born, we are still that non-binary person in that same way that we always have been. So for us, it's just finding gender euphoria and what actually lines up for us, and avoiding gender dysphoria in ways that make us actually like uncomfortable and painful. So like instead of us dressing a certain way, not feeling any less who we are, we might present a certain way and feel discomfort or pain on top of that. And that's what gender dysphoria would be. It clinically is described as an extreme distress. So but that's just the words that I would use as discomfort and pain to describe what that feels like for me. So yeah, it's not that you can understand what being non-binary is like or anything like that, but you can understand when you have your own gender euphoria,
Or your own
and
gender
you can,
dysphoria.
yeah, and we're experiencing this dysphoria at this point where we don't feel like the way that we're presenting lines up at all with who we are. It feels like
Ooh, I have a
a
good way to
fake
explain that.
mask that makes us distressed. You know, so
Cole, can I
I
butt
don't
in?
know
I
if that
have a
makes
good
sense,
way.
but
So you know, whenever you have a man over and you don't look your best, you know,
No,
like
I don't
you.
do that.
Oh well. So hypothetically, okay, you're in a long-term committed relationship, and this man is used to seeing you all dolled up, all dressed up, and all cute and stuff. And one day you walk out wearing your sweatpants and your shirt, and a shirt, or whatever comfortable clothes you put on, and he has a
grab
shocked
those Crocs. Okay,
reaction.
sorry.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and the Crocs. I can't forget about the Crocs.
No,
But
I think I
Socks.
have a bit
Gotta wear
like
socks with those Crocs.
like I wear wigs, but I cut my hair really short, but I wear
yeah,
wigs.
so like if he
And
sees
like
you
I've
and you're
tore off my
more,
wig in front of him, he's like, "Oh my god," like that,
yeah, like
because I didn't. He like I
and
had a wig on,
Mhm.
but then I went really
like
short.
yeah, so like what do if you are all in your complete absolute comfortable clothes and he is not used to seeing you like this, would that make you feel kind of uncomfortable if he had a reaction that you are not used to when you are all dolled up?
Or like, hear me out. What if he looked at you looking like that and said, God, why do you look like a man? I
Like
mean, it
yeah,
would probably
That's a
feel
good
like crap
example.
to be compared to something you're not, right?
I don't know, because like I I'm black. My hair is short and coily, so I cut my hair a lot. And like when I cut my hair, if it's really short, I feel like a lady still. But if it's like growing out, like the stage technically it is now, I'll look in the mirror and I'm like, we don't really look ladylike.
And
yeah,
that's the
it's
example we're using.
yeah.
He walks in and says, "You look like a man." Ugh. You know, how would that make
Would
you
that make you
feel?
feel uncomfortable or
Uh, I can't
not?
say that it would, since I say that to myself already.
Sad.
No, but like
That's so sad.
when I don't,
Oh, you're a girl.
I'm always a girl. I know. I mean, well, technically, I'm a woman now. I'm an adult, but like, sometimes I look and I'm like, I could look better, and then other times I look and I'm like, you couldn't look any better.
Okay,
And I don't have to have like be all done up for that feeling, but
here's another question. So when you look in the mirror and you think, I don't look my most womanly right now, you know? Think about not having another option. You have to look like that every day. You think that to yourself every single day. You always feel that way about yourself because you don't have a choice but to look that way. That would
I,
probably be uncomfortable, right? And that's kind of what, for me, gender dysphoria can be paralleled to, you know? Because we're forced to have the bodies that we have right now. I can't get surgery any quicker than I'm getting it, you know? So for now, like, I'm forced to go out in society, looking, in
I
my
feel like
personal
maybe it's like
feeling,
when
you know?
when my hair is not done, when I don't like how my hair look.
Yeah, when you
Maybe
have
that's
to
the
leave the
comparison. Like
house,
when
or
I
your
like my
hair not
hair,
done.
I'm like, oh, but then I might look back at some old pictures where I have a wig on or I have braids and I'm like, I wish that was what I look like now.
Yeah,
Well,
like I
I
guess I would
guess.
differentiate.
Because sometimes I'm broken, I can't do anything about it.
Yeah, Atropos can probably is typically pretty good at bringing these points to like a clear conclusion, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So if they
I
want to have a
Well,
go,
appreciate
if
that
you
might
that.
guys
help.
feel like I feel when I'm broke and I can't do anything about not liking my hair, then I understand.
Yeah, I mean,
Good
Think
point.
about
like
that on
Cole.
steroids. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
But you can
Yeah,
never
like
do
Cole was
anything about
saying,
it for the most
it's
part.
definitely. What'd you say, Stoke?
Oh, I said it's like, but you can't really do anything about it, like, easily.
Right.
That's like the biggest
Yeah,
Yeah, when
and
difference is
you're
I.
that like there's
broke,
no
I don't know if
there's
you guys have ever had your hair not done. When you're broke, you just
Oh,
the mirror is
okay.
always there.
well, yeah,
I
but
have
like
white curl hair.
it'd be like persistently that way though. That's also
Yeah.
kind of the difference. There's not like there's
Well,
kind
I'm
of
just trying to relate. I can't feel exactly what you guys are
yeah.
Yeah,
feeling.
we're
I'm just
trying to
trying to
get the
relate.
closest parallel, and I think
Yeah,
that's a pretty
that's the
close
only. Yeah.
parallel. As long as you acknowledge it's not the exact same, because it's not a constant and it's not severely distressing all of the time for you, then you can still realize the parallel, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't think I'm like distressful about it, but I feel it at it's like a up and down sometimes, not all the time.
Yeah,
I
I
can
guess
understand that.
I could even like kind of see it as being like, like a very mild gender dysphoria as a cis woman that you're experiencing in that way, because it's like you're looking at your hair, you're perceiving that this isn't the way that you want to present in society. You don't want to be identified as anything other than this woman who has this, I don't know, whatever kind of hairstyle it is that day. Like if you don't have that, and you're feeling more masculine because your hair is short and you don't have your hair done, it's like, yeah, I could imagine that there would even be like a little faint dysphoria happening for you as a cis woman that says, I need to lean further into this presentation because I'm not satisfied. Does that track for everybody else though? Like, does everyone agree with that?
That makes
Oh
sense
yeah.
for me. Yep.
Okay.
Well, if
Yeah.
I was like, if I could give you guys an example, I didn't have my hair done for like a month. And I work around all men or whatever. So I had a hood on every day and it was like 80 degrees and I got a hoodie on and I'm like tying my hood really tight so nobody sees my hair and they only see my face because that was the only part that I was comfortable with.
Yeah, I would say it's something similar to that. Like, but now, imagine that every day, all day,
Well, I
having to
couldn't,
do something like that to
a
feel a
month
little bit
was
better.
very long, so I couldn't imagine any longer.
Yeah.
Exactly, and this is our
Any,
lives.
that
So yeah.
was a very terrible time for me. It was very hot and I was sweating. So if that's how you
Binders
guys
are,
feel, I'm sorry.
yeah, it really is. And
Binders are a good example.
yeah, binders are, they're hot, they're extremely
Oh my
uncomfortable,
god, I hate
especially if you have
binders.
a bigger chest. We can find solutions like sometimes like taping, but sometimes even having a big chest like mine, we can never get things to be fully flat and fully present that way. We can only diminish the look, if that makes any sense. So just like you were able to cover that up, like that's me wearing big baggy clothes all of the time because I feel so awful with this part of myself, it really is similar in that way. Very hot, very itchy, very sweaty, very uncomfortable binders as well. It really is similar in some ways, but yeah.
I had a teen show up all the time, no matter if it was 99 degrees outside, wearing this giant fleece hoodie with this giant baggy t-shirt for that exact reason. They would
Yeah, I
just
used
be
to do that
well
in
trained.
elementary school and middle school. Now I'm just
Yeah,
sizing
I
down
still do.
uncomfortable bras because I love a good tight shirt though.
if you have any kind of like nerve issues either, or like just sensitivity, binders are the worst.
Same with
'Cause
tape. Imagine taking that off.
Oh yeah.
I'm
I
super sensitive.
also,
And then
yeah,
also,
I
can I add
accent,
on top
sorry,
of
real
this?
quick.
Okay, go ahead.
I it is very easy to either A, wear a binder too long and hurt yourself that way, or B, not properly tape just by a little bit. I'm talking a wrinkle in that tape. If you take that tape off after wearing it for any more than like 30 minutes, you're gonna have a really bad blister, and you might even scar from it like me. I have a couple of scars from tape. So like these things can genuinely hurt us, and we still do them because they help diminish the dysphoria, if that makes sense.
What I was gonna say though is that like on top of all this too, you have people that are gonna be saying, "Oh, this is just a phase. You don't actually feel that way. You're mentally disturbed." Like this is just one aspect of it. Like there's more to this that generally accompanies like like if you're lucky, this is the only thing you have to deal with.
And on top of that, if you're female, you have a period. You have
Oh man.
things. Yeah, a period. I hate that reminder. That's why I'm on birth control. But don't go on Depo, guys. If you are female
Oh,
and
I've
on
tried it.
Depo,
It was
get off.
terrible.
Anyways.
Depo can cause cancer. There's a lawsuit right now. Oh,
Yeah, it
little,
also
since it
speeds
came
up.
up, little disclaimer. If you now have, I believe it's a type of brain cancer, but I can't remember for sure.
It's a type of brain cancer, yeah.
If you have developed a type of brain cancer or have symptoms that may seem minor but together can present as symptoms of cancer, A, get checked out by your doctor if you've ever been on Depo and you are experiencing any of those symptoms, because there is proof. Pfizer even sent out a statement saying, hey, yeah, the people who have been on this have a higher risk of having this type of brain cancer. So you can show your doctor that Pfizer admitted to this, and you can also join a class lawsuit that is going on right now out of Florida. I know that if you follow Dad Chats on here, he is part of the team of lawyers that is taking on this case and has been working on this case diligently for, I believe, over a year at this point. His name's Dylan, and he's great, and his firm is great, and you just need to contact them to get compensation if you are experiencing any of these things from having taken Depo. Okay.
I need to do
Disclaimer
research
over.
on it.
Also,
I need to do
Well,
research.
I gotta go make lunch for myself.
So fair.
I
Thanks
just
for coming up.
appreciate it.
yeah.
Bye,
If you ever
guys.
want to come back up and tell us why you disagree for certain reasons and have a discussion about that, we can also talk about that. But I'm glad that we were able to enlighten you a little bit on the trans experience.
Thank you.
Okay,
Of course, thank you.
feeling gender dysphoria, like, oh my god.
I've never experienced gender euphoria before, by the way. I'm
It'll
going
happen
to,
at some point,
I
and it
need
is
it
the
to happen
best thing
faster.
ever.
But yeah, I'm on Depo currently. I hate it, and I don't know if these are also symptoms of brain cancer, but I am developing symptoms of POTS.
Well, there could be other reasons for that. I don't know if it lowers your blood pressure at all, which would cause POTS symptoms. I've had POTS and NCS for a decade. By the way, testosterone will up your blood pressure and your heart rate.
Oh, thank God.
So it actually, for me, I had low blood pressure because of POTS for a decade, and now I'm dealing with a little bit of high blood pressure, which is very funny and fun to deal with. So even looking out for symptoms of high blood pressure when you're on T is good. But yeah, when it comes to Depo, I would just definitely be aware of that and be aware of those symptoms, because you've got to keep an eye on that. And I hope you can get off of it and onto something else soon. I suggest personally a progesterone. If you are okay with pills,
I can't do pills. My memory sucks.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And that's fair. I have a million other pills that like I'll have seizures and pass out and all this shit if I don't take them every day. So I found a way to remind myself, which is alarms, and I don't press stop. I always hit snooze until I actually completed the task. And once I've completed it, the next time the alarm goes off, I press stop. And that's how I remember.
and a few of the ones that I take do not balance out well with a lot of birth control pills. So I'm
Yeah,
going to get the implant instead. I took my last shot like 1 month, 2 months ago. And
that's
yeah.
fair. If the implant works best for you, that's awesome. But when it comes to pills, just no placebo week and progesterone only has worked absolute wonders for me, literally for over a decade. I've been on it since I was 14 and I'm 25 now. And I've had very, very few periods before I was on Tia. I'm talking anywhere from 5 to like 11 months apart. Like, it was wild and awesome in the best way. And I did not have severe symptoms when I was on them. I bled a lot before I was on birth control. That was one of the reasons that I started taking it. And like I said, if the implant works for you, that's great. That's awesome. That's perfect. But yeah, for pills for somebody who's trans and is looking to avoid periods, I definitely suggest A, no placebo week, B, progesterone only.
Yeah, I'm also thinking about talking to my doctor soon about because my mental health is drastically declining because of how much gender dysphoria I've been getting. About seeing things similar to testosterone, and if there's any way that if because I don't want to start it until I'm done with my puberty because I want to see how much more I grow in certain areas before I complete my decisions with things. And if testosterone messes that up, I don't want to mess with that yet. So because I know that a huge part of my depression and anxiety is because of my reactions to gender specifically. So I need to talk to my doctor next time I go about that.
Sorry, Fran.
Yeah, that'll be good to get talking with someone about it, and then even if just like venting to a friend that you know is accepting of who you are about that, if something like that helps as well. Um,
I need to
yeah,
find a way to
find the
explain
things
my
that help, and we're here.
I need to find a way to explain to my boyfriend how I feel all the time. Because he doesn't he supports me 100%. But he also doesn't want me doing anything that could hurt me. He does care a lot. He uses they them. He uses gender neutral everything. He does support me. He just doesn't want me making rash, impulsive decisions because I am very prone to do that. So I need to explain how I feel all the time about to him too. I don't know how I'm going to do that yet because he doesn't experience any form of dysphoria ever.
Yeah.
That's hard to like communicate across. It's not something that's like you can give some sort of like analogy like we've tried with the lady who was just up here, but it's really hard to like really get a like I don't know what it's like to have pure like actual gender dysphoria. I can have analogies, I can kind of understand it, but I can never really understand it to some degree. I don't there's a lot of things that like I just will never understand, but like that doesn't mean that I shouldn't be like empathetic about these things and like try to like it's hard for from an outside
It's,
perspective to like understand it within a reason or within like a way that would make sense to some
I'm
Yeah.
individuals.
just very happy that people are sympathetic, at least,
Well, of
because I
course.
Empathetic?
do know.
Empathetic?
Yeah, in this case. But,
I think
well,
it's sympathetic.
sympathy for you, empathy for other trans people that
Yeah.
actually get the experience.
Okay, I also do have a question for anyone who is trans and does not experience gender dysphoria.
Okay, not you
How?
then.
Honestly, yeah, we will never understand that. We'll never understand cis people who don't have gender dysphoria. We'll never get that.
I don't know,
I
just
am a trans person who experiences less dysphoria. At least if I experience it, I don't feel it in my brain. But I have noticed that, like, the further that I've been going on testosterone, the more I've been just overly accepting. I don't know how to explain it. It just becomes easier.
Because
Like,
I
large
know
lifted.
I know a person who identifies as non-binary, but has told me they have never experienced any form of gender dysphoria.
Oh, well, no, that's not me.
Yeah.
My bad,
It's
my bad.
weird to me too that that's majority of, well, when it comes to social dysphoria, like, yeah, that's probably majority of us have usually experienced some sort of social dysphoria. By and but
I
when it comes to like needing medical transition and having that kind of dysphoria with your body, that is not the majority of trans people. The majority of them do not experience dysphoria on that level, which is just crazy to me. Like, just because I can't, like, I've never experienced it, so I can't understand it. Like, I totally get the concept of it, but I just will never be able to understand because that's never been me, you know?
I don't understand the concept of it either. I don't okay. I grew up in a household. They support trans people to a point. Like, you have to have severe gender dysphoria to be trans.
Trans medicalists.
Yeah. 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 So that explains my household enough.
You fuck off, you bigots. No.
I'm trying to help my mom a lot, but my dad is very stubborn in his point of views. But so I'm kind of happy that I do have severe reactions because it is helping me in my life, my situations.
Kind of fucked up to say.
Yeah, it is, but
It
in a
makes
way,
aspects
it's
of your
kind of
life
good.
easier. It makes,
Yeah,
despite it being harder, it does make some aspects easier, and I wish that
yeah,
that didn't have to be the
because
case.
they support me. They use preferred pronouns in name in public, so that's a win on my half. But not so much at home. But that's okay. I'm still training them.
I would also like just point out, like,
I'm
I'm
sorry,
always
that was
happy.
hilarious.
Yeah.
I'm still training them. And it's hilarious because it's accurate. It's sad because it should never fucking have to happen, but that's literally what we have to do.
And I'm
I'm
always
still
available.
wow.
And I assume that Cole would also be available too, if you want us to talk to your parents and help try to give some outside perspective to help, sit, stay, bad, spray, spray, spray. No.
Lord.
Fuck you.
No, it's okay. I
Bad
got this.
doggy, bad.
They don't like the fact that I talk about it in public. I don't care though. It's my life.
Fuck them. Honestly,
It's my
like,
life.
we don't get to choose. Like, our parents are often. I think a lot of times it's easy to say that they do care about us, but they're not. They're humans. We have to remember this. That everybody's a human. They're capable of being really fucking stupid at times. Like really.
Yeah.
Like, it's incredible sometimes how I just, like, people would just, like, follow their parents, like, off a cliff, and they're like, what the fuck are you
Why?
doing? Why? Why did you, like, it blows my mind that they have this blind trust, and, like, I guess it's just because I don't know, I think it takes a time that you have to wake up to this fact, but it's not an easy feeling knowing that your parents are wrong about things. Not always.
I mean, I grew up with my father being a terrible person, so I'm used to my parents not always being right in a way.
But it's not
Father
easy
and dad are
initially to accept that. Like, as a kid, even.
father and dad are two different things in my stepdad is my dad. I would like to announce that differentiation.
Differentiation? Or
Yes,
I
thank
was,
you.
Glad
yep.
to hear that, 'cause
Differ-
usually you don't hear that very often, and I'm glad to hear that your stepdad has stepped up.
That you have a dad is good.
That you
I'll share mine. I'll share mine. He's pretty cool, other than that one aspect. Wait, did one of
Dad. Sorry.
my wait? Okay, I thought I saw one of my friends join, and I got excited because I haven't talked to them in a while. But
Oh my lord. What was I gonna say too?
Sorry, go
I
ahead.
forgot what I was saying too.
That Sid is pogging out of his
Okay, I
gourd. He's
actually
fucking having a
remember.
blast.
So one time, I don't know if still remembers this. I was working, meaning I was taking care of my grandma. That's what I do for my work. And I was listening to a live. I was up there, but I wasn't interacting much because I was hanging out with my grandma. And she wanted to turn off the TV and listen to the live. So we watched the live together, and it was a great time. And then towards the end, she actually said some things as well. The fact that she's 78 now.
That was on my life, I think.
Yeah,
Mine, yeah.
yeah. She's 78 now. She is literally has dementia. And she didn't know until maybe a few years ago what a trans person was, the fact that somebody could be trans. But she's always asked me questions and truly just been curious and respected us. With the dementia, the pronouns tend to slip, but like you really can't on that front hold her to that. And if you ever were to correct her, she'd take it like, oh, thanks for reminding me. And then as long as she remembered, she would continue to use the correct pronouns, you know? So yeah, so stuff like that. But the fact that she was able to learn and grow and accept a whole new, like,
Concept.
type of person, exactly, way that a person can exist, she's able to grasp and accept that, you know. Every adult should be able to do that. My parents, I'm just lucky, I kind of low-key won the parent lottery. And well, not in some ways, I was a pastor's kid for the first 11 years of my life, you know. I
like
there have been some rough things, but
you got lucky overall.
with the fact that they have always learned and grown, that's the part that my sister and I are very, very, very lucky for. So my dad hasn't preached in about 15 years, and both of my parents, they still go to church, they're still Christian, whatever. Won't get into that whole thing, but they accept who my, because my sister happens to be trans as well, they accept who my sister and I are. They accept, even like they wouldn't even accept our sexualities. When I was 12, I was forced to come out to my mom as pansexual, and the first thing she said to me was, no, you're not, you know. But now she rarely, if ever, slips up on my pronouns. Has used my correct name since I started going by my name I go by now at 17. So that's been what, 8 years at this point. Same with my dad, like they're really on top of it. At first they had curiosities and questions just like anybody else would, but they were respectful with how they went about it, and always loved and cared for their kids. And now they just know fully who we are, which I love. That they're able to see us and accept us now.
Sadly, it's a very taboo topic to talk about in my house, mainly because my parents believe that it should not be talked around around kids, and I have 2 younger siblings.
Oh, that's what my parents thought too.
It's
Yep.
a
When I was
contagion.
younger. I literally, the way that I was, sorry, quick side note, the way that I was forced to come out is because we were very overprotected and over supervised. So we couldn't be on a computer unless one of the parents could either see or hear what we were watching or listening to. And so I was on YouTube and I was looking up literally just educational videos about different sexualities and got caught. And then that's what happened. So like, they obviously restricted the topic a ton as well. And it's shit when you can't learn or talk about these things with people who could use some education, and like you have the ability to educate them, so why not, you know? It took a decade to like destigmatize these topics, and no longer having young kids in the house for my parents to come around. So
I'm trying to do that too right now. It's very
honestly,
difficult.
I feel for you a lot. That's a very difficult situation to be in.
Yeah. Whenever my brother brings up something about romantic, I make sure to bring up like, hey, you know it's okay to love anyone, right? Or my sister, she's getting attached to more, not trying to genderize things, but boyish things. So like I'm like, hey, to my mom, like maybe we can look at other options of clothes than just girl clothes. So I'm
Exactly. Gender exploration is so important because of the fact that gender develops within the brain around between the ages of 3 and 7,
Mhm.
and allowing for kids to explore these things while they are going through that developmental phase, I think is very important. Personally, I know scientifically it has proven to be something that is very easy for kids to understand and accept, and b that it's very important to just allow them to explore, even if they end up landing on being cis. But maybe maybe for example, like your little sister, it sounds like, ends up like not being trans, but maybe she enjoys boys clothing.
yeah,
So
she might just
cool,
be a tomboy.
let her discover that, so that's where I'm at with things. But having parents in this situation that don't allow for that as much, honestly, it being 18, living in that kind of dynamic, I am extremely proud of you for how you are able to bring these things up on a level that is easily understandable to your younger siblings. And I think it's helping them um, explore their gender much more than your parents ever would have. So I thank you for them. Like the fact that you do that for them is absolutely amazing.
I would be a great mom if I not mom, parent if I wanted to be a parent.
Right? And
But
I don't want to be a parent either, but I
Yeah,
think I'd
fuck
be
this
all right at
economy.
it.
No.
On the
the
other
own slip up
honestly.
on myself.
What were you
Oops,
gonna say,
guys.
Pickles?
On the other hand, one of the things I find funniest is for a while, I wasn't allowed to talk to my siblings, like, unmonitored, because my parents were worried that I would corrupt them. And then watching them come out as queer has been the funniest experience of my lifetime.
Right?
It's
It's
been
not my fault. I
so
swear.
funny. And it's like we're not it's not a social contagion. We promise, we swear it
It's a
wasn't on
genetic
purpose,
Right, and I
contagion.
haven't
like
said
it's
anything. I've said
great.
nothing. But
Um,
watching them come out has been really, really funny, and I've been trying to be supportive in the best way that I can and be there for them despite not technically being allowed.
We live in this
and the
really
most
weird time in history where,
yeah, the most
like,
confusing thing with my parents is they always told me and my siblings that I don't care what you are. You could be a purple dinosaur for all I care. I'll still love you. But the reactions to me actually falling into those is what is confusing to me. Like,
And listen
it's
to their reactions, listen to how they conduct themselves in certain situations, and that's probably going to tell you who they are more than their words of "I'll love you
mhm.
anyways." And I say this because again, when I was a lot younger, I was raised in a very similar sort of situation where
Mine was religious,
um
so don't worry.
yeah, but I was sorry, I totally just lost my train of thought.
It's okay.
What did you say the thing with your parents was? It'll remind me.
Like,
I
they'll love me no matter what. I could be
yes.
a
Oh yeah,
dinosaur
yeah,
for
yeah.
all they care.
So yeah, so my parents would say the same exact thing to me, and I knew that it wasn't true for a period of time. Now I'm lucky that they came around like I was talking about, but um I went through a lot, like literally my entire childhood. I had to listen to their reactions more than what they said because it just wasn't true for the longest time, until they learned and grew, and then it was.
Yeah, my mom is starting to come around it. It's my dad is just confused because in his words, I'm a very girlish person. And like I get it. I do get it to some extent. But I am explaining to you the discomfort I am having in my own body. And you tell me, "Oh, that's not normal." So why won't you help and acknowledge acknowledge
acknowledge. Yeah.
acknowledge the fact that I am not a girl.
Exactly.
I think it comes down to words are cheap. They're easy to say, but meaningful impact and changing the ways that you behave, even if you like it could be even the case that they really do care, but changing the way that they act is sometimes very hard. It's
Yeah, I know
very
they care
easy.
about me.
It's very easy to say that we will always care about you, but actually doing that and showing that regardless is just it's a lot harder than just being able to say those words.
I know my
So
parents care about me to an extent. They do care. I know they care. But there's certain things that they just don't understand, and they think it is, like I said, it. Oh my god, let me in! Shut up! We're having a very meaningful
and
conversation.
I'm gonna answer you before and
Patience.
anyway, so no.
But there is something. My mom. I've been talking to my mom a lot more about my gender because I don't know how to bring it up to my dad yet. And I was like, hey, yeah, this is how I feel. I have scars on my body because of how I feel. I don't know how to get more direct than that. And don't look at me with concern. And so we're doing the workarounds with my mom. We're doing one at a time because doing both at a time is too stressful.
Absolutely.
Especially when my dad is a lot more transmedicalist than my mom.
What the fuck, Jesus?
How about you send me a galaxy? Jaden.
You won't.
Yeah, you won't.
No balls.
How about you help a poor trans person in need before you debate on how trans people are wrong?
I did send you an invite to the Discord, by the way.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna join as soon as I get off, which is gonna be soon.
Better.
I will. Don't worry. I will.
Lord.
I've been messing around with this little lizard. I don't know if you've heard it. Just like
What's up?
I've
Well,
been
now I
messing
hear
around.
the little lizard.
Oh, I've been messing around with this little lizard for like the last half hour.
But you gotta have patience when you're coming into other people's space. You gotta be like, hey, like, I made sure to talk in the comments before I requested up, even though I was really resisting the urge. I was trying to make sure you guys knew I was a friendly.
Yeah, that's good. And usually, like, I'll let people up that are friendly as long as it's not like I don't want to fucking dogpile people. Like that just
Oh,
I
no.
got let up immediately.
I'm
Well,
also not known, other than
I also
to
know
told
you too, so
Oh,
I was
that's
unknown.
yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Well,
for
yeah,
people
that
I
was
know who I know can be respectful, like it's I'll just go, okay, yeah, you can come up, and until like I just don't want to, especially just like I want people to be able to speak, but like because I think it's important for individuals in order to learn for them to have express their ideas and show how they're like systematically wrong is the big thing. So
I'm glad to hear you find me respectful because I've had a few major crash outs on here.
Oh, I have so many crash outs. Especially when they bring up religion and say like, "Oh, that's the reason why I don't support." Then I'll
Dude.
definitely
If it's
disprove, and I'll
God
probably
justified,
be
made
angry while you
man and
say it.
woman, and he made
have
woman from
the
the rib
crash
of a
out if
man,
it's
so
justified.
Eve was trans. What the fuck? Oh
Yeah,
god.
Eve is one of us. Eve is one of our cousins.
The one
Lance.
thing that really upsets me is when people are being willfully disingenuous. It bothers me so much that they just like, and I know that's the point. I know that that's why they're doing it.
Oh yeah,
But
love
it
me too.
does not make it any less frustrating that they chose to do that.
When we're also backing it up with
Right,
science
but
and stuff like
also
that. Ugh.
also at that point I'll just pull one of the okay, let's I think things are kind of tense in the I'm not saying this for now, by the way. This is what I'm saying I would pull. Okay. So things seemed kind of tense in the conversation. Let's slow down for a minute. And then I would ask the guest, like, how have you been doing the last 2 days? Just like generally, how have you been doing the last few days? And then they'll start speaking, and as soon as they start speaking, I drop them from the panel. I find that very satisfying. I don't do it very often, but if you're intentionally being disingenuous, if you're gonna get any entertainment out of me being mad at that, I'm also going to get the entertainment of shutting you the fuck up and showing you that I don't care.
On my live,
So that's
ins-
my move. Sorry.
instead of saying transgender people are valid or trans women are women, I say cis or trans, a person is a person.
I've
And
Wait,
that
I've
actually
been
brings
on
up a
your
lot
panel
of angry
before.
people.
I think.
what?
Huh?
I think I've been on your panel before. I'm one of
Maybe.
Pom's
I have a
friends.
lot of K Angel themed panels.
Mm.
So maybe. I bring up anyone. It's always open panel for me.
I think that the
I'm
I
sorry.
think especially with you, Pickle, like I understand that, especially with people who are trans, like this can get emotional. Like I don't expect you not to get emotional ever. I just and it's fine to have outbursts. You're human. We have emotions. We have to deal with them. It's just generally though you're not, and you're logical and you're respectful. Like I don't want to judge people on when they're emotional, because that's when we're not like being ourselves to some extent.
That's a very nice way to view things, and I really appreciate that.
I don't
It
think
is.
that
Part of it for me, sorry, real quick, is an intolerance to intolerance as well. That is a piece of it. So
Or
part of it
weaponize
is me being me.
Yeah. I also hate when people weaponize their own incompetence. We're like, normally the people who are hosting these lives are willing to teach you. Why won't you just absorb the information that we're trying to give you instead of, I don't know, it just irritates me so
Yeah,
much.
we meet people where they're at, you know? It makes me
I'm
so
willing to break it
frustrated
down to
when I
baby
pull up a
terms.
source specifically to help you and then nothing. Nothing. There's no like I
Right.
did this looking into it for you
I
because
did
I
this for
want to
you.
help
Wait,
you.
does anyone know that reference? Sorry.
I do.
I do not.
Is it because I'm older than some of y'all?
No, I get the
You might
reference,
know it.
don't worry.
Has anyone heard of what is it? Jeffrey Dallas?
Yep.
Okay.
I know
So
exactly what you're referencing.
there's the hot Kool-Aid video. I made this for you.
Oh,
So literally that's what
okay.
I was
I
referring to.
hot
Sorry.
Kool-Aid. Yeah,
Okay, you got it
yeah.
now. Okay, sorry.
I didn't
I
know
just
who it
had
was
to
from,
do
but
that.
the hot Kool-Aid. Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry for
I
interrupting. I
made
just
this
had to
for
make that
you.
reference. Exactly. That's what it feels like. And then they're like, sometimes occasionally they'll be like, okay, that's new information for me. I'm gonna take some time to absorb it. But a lot of times they're just like,
No, you're
or
wrong.
they'll repeat the same thing and go in circles, and it's like, oh my god, are you fucking kidding me?
Or when they
It's like,
bring up
listen
like,
to what I just told you. I just gave you this information. I just went on a search to find this for you, to bring it up for you so that you didn't have to do the work, and still nothing.
or
Me,
when they like,
me,
what's the word? Like philo bros. Oh my god, I hate them
Phil
all.
Bros, no.
me. No, I'm not that much
No.
of a Phil bro. I can get
No,
into
yeah, because
philosophy,
Phil
but
Bros, yeah, they in my opinion don't know shit about philosophy, but
No, they don't.
know
They
the
use big words
terminology,
to.
and then they just throw the
it's a lot of
terminology around
slang.
in ways that it doesn't actually like make any sense.
It's
I got
people
called one
who
the other
learn big
day.
words and then use that to hide their incompetence.
I
Wait.
got called one the other day because I called someone out for circular reasoning because they were actually having circular reasoning.
Right? I
No.
love when that happens. It's so
I
funny.
love when I out Philbro the Philbro, because like, oh well, that's just circular. I'm like, well, all circular, just because something's circular doesn't necessarily mean it's fallacious. There's entire fields of like logical
Oh
philosophy
no,
that
you're
look
gonna
at
out.
such as reversion
Wait, are
theory.
you muted? Is my phone going out?
No,
You're muted now. Oh, teacupped. We're
raptured,
gonna lose Cole.
raptured by the scripture. No, no, but I
Or
like sometimes like
Sorry, I
going down rabbit
automatically connected to
holes.
my mom's speaker, so I couldn't hear anybody. I was like, what's going on? Okay, I was very confused for like 10 seconds there. Sorry about that.
Yeah, but I'll just like out Philbro them in like a very niche part of philosophy, and they'll just get slammed by it, and they're like concussed. Like, what?
or whenever you bring up a very personal experience to help them understand, like, well, you're still insane. No, I'm not. Well, I am, but like, it's not because of that.
I love how you can make fun of yourself like that. I think that's part of like
Different reason.
I think that part of like one of the things that like I don't know, for me with autism, like it's been helpful to be able to laugh at myself about stupid things I've done.
Oh
Like,
yeah, I've been, because of my fainting recently, I've been calling myself a rag doll. Yes, please laugh. I
That's
think it's the
wild.
funniest thing
That's
ever.
wild.
but yeah. I think I'm gonna end
Are
stream here
you
though. Thank you
okay?
all for coming. You're all welcome to come back and join the
I
Discord.
will.
Thanks for
And
having me.
if I ever go live, you guys can join mine.
I
And it's
followed you,
just,
so
yeah, you saw I got so excited. I got so happy.
oh my
And
god.
I'll join the server as soon as you end the live.
I was gonna say that I post daily Weasel facts, but I posted the last one that I'm gonna do for a while today. But there's a
Uh,
whole like weapon grade autism level of Weasel facts in a backlog if you want those.
I post on TikTok whatever I want. I do chill lives and debate lives on my lives. So if you don't want to like my content, you don't have to, but you can at least join my lives. I need more traction.
Yeah, it's funny that like I feel like I've gotten fairly like out of small creators, I feel like I get pretty good traction. I don't know why. It's really funny. I think it's the cute stoat. I'll be honest. No.
I get called a
Honestly,
child.
people coming in here because they're like, is that a ferret or something like that? Like, we do get some traffic from that. Also, like, the fact that it has nothing to do with the topic, I think also confuses people enough to click in sometimes.
Fuck 'em.
And we do keep it consistent with, like, we talk about shit all the time. We're always talking about something up here. So keeping that consistent, I think also draws people in. But anyway.
Yeah. Thank you all for coming. Yeah, I couldn't do it without you.
I love you all. Thank you for
Have
having
fun
me
with your
on.
real life friends. Not that
I
we're
have
not
no
real
real
life
life
friends. We're
I
just
don't.
not in
My
person.
friend canceled on me. He has
Oh
stuff to do
no.
today. Tomorrow though, maybe we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
have no real life friends. All my friends are internet friends. That's why I'm the internet angel. It's
I have
actually a
very
reference.
few real life friends,
No, it's
so
the
I
same.
feel yeah.
It's
A
a
lot of your
reference
real
to
life
my
friends have been shit too. It fucking sucks.
Honestly, like
Man,
2025, I got slammed with
he got
finding out
fucking
all my
boned.
friendships were just one after another being destroyed because they weren't actually the people that I thought they were. So yeah, you have a very fair point with that one.
Yeah. Oh, I do have one quick question. Is there a lot of drama in your space?
There is never drama,
Oh, thank God.
unless
Oh
you're
my
in the
God.
other server. In the main server, the one that you'll be in that you got an invite to, there's never been any drama. And if there is, it's dealt with pretty expediently.
Because the
But there
last group
probably
I
won't
was
be.
in was every week there was some sort of drama, and I literally had to make a separate server because of it, and now I'm outcast because apparently I'm talking shit about my friends and that I'm the one who was sending screenshots to the ops. No, I wasn't. No, I wasn't. I don't
Yeah,
like them
people
for a
are
reason.
like that. I
I've
don't
never
like people like that, but people are like that sometimes.
I've weirdly enough never like organized and talked with other like trans right activists on like a Discord server because it's just, I don't know. I like having my own discussions and just kind of coming up with topics as I see fit. Because like I think it's really helpful to be able to like ground your own logic with like the whole argument from the ground up. Because then they can just keep asking questions and you're never like, well, I don't know.
I like getting requests from other people who are planning to join my live before I make my prompt for that live. So then it's not just topics I know a lot about, it's the people who want to join as well.
I know quite a bit
So,
about some of the at least some of the history of like trans, like all the
oh
fucked
yeah,
up
me.
bullshit of medical history.
Hmm.
Things such as like RGD, Lisa Littman, all that bullshit.
I know a lot of political stuff.
Yeah.
I mainly debate ICE and Trump.
Yippee!
So, yeah, so if
Fucking
you ever want to learn about that, go
why
ahead.
are
But
you
it does get
debating in
very
solid
stressful.
water?
Yeah, it is. It's debating a wall. It's so annoying. But I love politics so much. I need to do it.
I don't know
But
how
like
you live. I fucking hate politics. I love morals more than politics.
I like politics because it is subjective per person and everyone has a different view on how the world should be. I enjoyed that aspect. I don't
Ooh.
like the MAGA.
I would hold different to that. I think that that morals are objective.
The only reason I say morals are subjective is because they differ to person. Like some people would think that certain types of cannibalism is good while others will think it's bad. That's the main example I hold.
Well,
Yeah, I think that's like a gray zone
Memphis,
where there's
yeah,
some debate. I think there's like
but
some ideas of like
Keaton,
harm being bad is like objectively the fact.
Well, like,
In this
obvious
case,
rapists are
it's
bad.
like in this case it would be like you're just disrespecting a corpse to some extent, but you're also like helping somebody else that like otherwise it would be causing harm. So it's like this weird like moral gray area where there's like you're doing harm to allow harm, and that's like
Yeah,
or to prevent
because of the
harm.
moral gray
So-
area, I say that morals are subjective.
Well, I would say that just because some things are I would say that there's definitely aspects where morals are subjective, but I think a lot of things like what is right and wrong, a lot of things can be like granted objectively of like, yeah, we should support trans people because like you can objectively ground that that's like the right thing to do because it reduces harm and allows the most freedom.
Mm-hmm.
So
It would also hurt the trans community if you don't support them. I
Well,
also
yeah.
do a lot of it's all men until it's no men debates.
fuck
So
you, I'm a man and I'm a good guy. No.
I hate it. I don't care about that you're a good guy. It's the fact that you might be defending a bad person, and that would make you a part of the "it's all men until it's no man" statement.
absolutely,
Yeah.
preach.
The amount of people I have to explain it to, even I have to re-explain that to some people too, and it's so aggravating.
Yeah.
And like we all had to learn it at some point.
Mhm.
Like I totally get that too, but like unless you're very young coming onto one of those lives, we all have a responsibility as adults to like to understand those things, to research how we are causing harm, to understand things like it's all men until it's no men, and to apply those things to ourselves. It's not somebody else's obligation to teach us those things. So it's your choice whether you have the patience to teach people those things when they're into their adulthood. But I understand people like needing to learn it at some point. But it's not really excusable into your adulthood. You just have to at least teach yourself these things so that you can prevent harm in whatever way that you can, you know?
Hi, Erin. Hi. I didn't know the phrase for I didn't know it's all men until no men as a phrase. I knew the definitions behind it before I knew the phrase. Does that make sense? Like I knew that you should hold your fellow human or fellow man accountable and that you should be wary in certain aspects.
Or
But
you're
I didn't know the
complicit.
phrase.
Exactly.
Anyways.
Knowing that these people were complicit was something I also understood
Cut us
before I heard
off.
the
End the
phrase.
live.
Cut us off in the live. Okay, bye.
Sorry. Love you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.